prayer.
Almighty God, who in your wisdom and goodness has appointed the offices of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society, good of all human lives upon it, and the just government of its people, we beseech you to look with your abundant favor upon us, your servants, whom you have entrusted with the performance of such important trust in this community. Let your blessings descend upon us here assembled, and grant that we may treat and consider all matters that shall come under our attention and the deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of this region and of those whose interests you have committed to us. Amen.
Item number 1 on the order paper, administration of oath.
Can I be sure whether Honorable Betty Maina is there online?
Yes, she is.
Okay. Honorable members, I rise to notify you that His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, President of the Republic of Kenya, appointed Honorable Betty Maina, the Cabinet Secretary for Industrialization, Trade and Enterprise Development, to act as the Cabinet Secretary for the Ministry of East African Community and Regional Development of the Republic of Kenya. Honorable Betty Maina, the Cabinet Secretary, is present and would like to take her seat in this House. However, in accordance with Rule 5 of our Rules of Procedure, Honorable Betty Maina can only take her seat in the Assembly after taking the oath of allegiance to the treaty. Rule 9, Sub-Rule 2 of Annex 10 to the Rules of Procedure specifically states that, and I quote, when a member first attends the House, other than at the first sitting of a new assembly, the member shall be introduced to the Speaker virtually by a member of the Assembly who shall state the name of the new member. The Speaker shall then administer the oath or affirmation of allegiance to him or her. End of quote. I therefore request any member who know Honorable Betty Maina to introduce her to me and enable me administer the oath of allegiance.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Yes, I know Honorable Betty Maina. I wish to introduce her and say to the House, we are lucky because we started with the Honorable Betty Maina, and it seems we are ending this session with her.
Thank you, Honorable Wanjiku. So Honorable Betty Maina can proceed. I hope she's being assisted with the necessary documentation.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Can you confirm that you can hear me?
I don't know what is wrong with the IT here because you wait for a few minutes, Honorable Betty, so we can correct our IT systems because they are not properly presenting you. So are you able to correct that anomaly?
Okay, Honorable Speaker.
Just wait, Honorable Betty, wait a moment.
Okay.
IT, have you seen what the problem is?
Camera is upside down.
Honorable Betty, can you put your phone in a different position if you are using the phone? Because it is presenting you in a, yes, that's the right posture. All right.
Okay, it would actually be better if they let us in on the computer.
Now it is properly done. Now you can proceed and take your oath.
All right, Honorable Speaker, it would be okay if the IT people let us in on the computer. They've already let us in on the phone. So I'm sure I must look quite tiny.
Now it is okay. We can see you properly in the right posture. You proceed.
Okay. I, Betty Maina, do swear that I will give true and faithful service to this assembly, and that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the East African community, and will preserve, protect, and defend the treaty for the establishment of the East African community as by law established. So help me God.
Thank you very much, Honorable Betty. Now the Office of the Clerk will facilitate you with the documents that we needed to sign, and myself and yourself, we shall sign them. So thank you and congratulations. You are done. You can now take your seat. Yes, thank you very much. I want to congratulate you, Honorable Betty Maina, and I'm sure the House, for being an ex-officio member of this assembly. I know you are not new to this docket, so you have been one of us in a different capacity. So your appointment is most welcome. And in a special way, honorable members, I want to thank His Excellency President Uhuru for moving swiftly to make sure that we have someone in the position of the council chair. And before that happened, already the Republic of Kenya had made some arrangements to appoint the Republic of Burundi to act on their behalf. So we really thank the president and the authorities in Kenya for making sure that this office was not left unduly vacant because of its importance. So Honorable Betty, you are most welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
The tradition of this house is we can allow you a few minutes to say something before we proceed.
Well, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. And I want to thank Honorable Wanjiko Moya for acknowledging that she indeed knows me. So I want to thank her very much for that kind introduction. I also want to acknowledge the presence of the other honorable members of Eala, colleague members of the council. I acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Rebecca Kadaga, who is also standing in for the council in the plenary today. Acknowledge the presence of the Secretary General and the council to the community. Indeed, as you mentioned, Honorable Speaker, I am treading on familiar grounds, having intensively engaged with the East African community for a long time, even before I joined the government as a principal secretary in 2015, and I was privileged to serve as the principal secretary for East African Community Affairs in the Republic of Kenya. I want to sincerely apologize for the unintended disruption of the Assembly's program due to the change in leadership of our ministry, East African Community in Kenya, occasioned by the resignation of my colleague on the 8th of February. As you're all aware, the Kenyan election is due in August 2022, and many public servants who wish to vie for political office had to leave by a certain date, but which was a subject of judicial interpretation, and also as per the electoral law. I'm very happy, as I've mentioned, that the Honorable Kadaga, a seasoned parliamentarian herself, is present with us in the chamber on my first day and will definitely be supporting me today as I learn the political ropes of Eala. As last week, even though I was a stranger to the August House, having not been sworn in, I keenly followed your debate before the House adjourned. Let me say that I will do my very best on behalf of the Republic of Kenya as your current chair to address the concerns together with colleague council members where the treaty mandates us to do so. I am particularly keen to engage my council colleagues and the Secretary General to be able to consistently attend the sittings of Eala. Honorable members will attest to the fact that indeed Kenya has consistently attended the Eala plenary meetings, either by the Chief Administrative Secretary, the Honorable Obura, or the Cabinet Secretary himself. I am glad to know that there are council members who have expressed concern in the way we conduct business in the Assembly, and that there is need to review some of those practices and commitments. And I'm sincerely looking forward for active engagement with the Assembly to make the EAC work better for the benefit of its citizens. The EAC organs and institutions are meant to work in harmony and not in competition. This community is still too young to afford distractions from its treaty objectives and mandate. We must not lose sight of the big picture, Mr. Speaker. We want to see the East African community as a key player in the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. This will only be possible if we have a strong regional bloc before engaging others. Let us focus now on how we can speedily integrate the Republic of South Sudan into the EAC institutions and programs as we prepare ourselves to welcome our brothers and sisters from the DRC as our newest member. Let us see members propose innovative ways of addressing the persistent intra-EAC NTBs that is stifling regional trade and diverting trade outside the region. Let us think on how to maximize the potential benefits of the East Africa Customs Union to strengthen our regional economic identity. Let us work on how to unlock the stagnation of many of the provisions of the EAC Common Market Protocol. Let us think on how we can effectively review and amend parts of the EAC treaty and protocols that have been rendered impractical with time, since the time when members were only 3 in 1999. In all these efforts, honorable members, the legislative and oversight role of Eala is key in unlocking some doors that the council, as part of its executive on their own, may not be able to do so. With these remarks, Mr. Speaker and honorable members and fellow colleagues from the council, I want to thank you for giving me time first of all, for allowing me to take my oath virtually and giving recognition to the challenges of time since my appointment. And I look forward to a harmonious and fruitful work with the Assembly. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, and I yield.
Once again, thank you, Honorable Betty Maina, for your maiden speech. Now we can proceed.
Item number 3 on order paper, item number 2 on the order paper, communication from the chair.
Well, good afternoon, honorable members. While I was away, I learned through different sources that there is a day we could not proceed with the business because key members of the Assembly were not there. So of course that was a very unfortunate situation. And the way it came out to the public was really damaging. I can only hope that we will not have a similar situation happening again. Because the week before we had a very good conversation, very candid conversation on why we should take business of the Assembly seriously. So after that conversation, through the debate of the report we had been debating and my own communication, I didn't expect that we would end up with a situation where we can't even proceed because some members were not there, members of the council. So we hope that that unfortunate situation has reminded everybody that we needed to take the business of the Assembly seriously. And it's a matter of organizing. You know, we are not so wishful that we can always have 6 ministers in the House. That would be the best situation. But it may not be the realistic situation. But can we have some of them at any point in time, depending on the way they organize themselves? You see, if in 1 week, one of them is inconvenienced, then and some of them should be there. But a situation where none is there, that one really is not justified at all. Yeah. So nevertheless, we thank Honorable Ezekiel, who had been here with us until he had a challenge that he told me and I told you. But he had really been there to stand in for the council chair and the Professor Manasseh, who was there for some days. So Honorable Kadaga, thank you for your presence today. And even as we were having that conversation, we knew without a very strong reason, you don't miss the assembly. Yeah, there was no doubt about that. So we thank you for your presence today, and we hope that we will not encounter a situation where we are not able to proceed because some of us are not in the house. Honorable members, I also want to introduce some of the visitors we have today. The visitors we have today from the Arusha East African Training Institute, the students of International Relations and Diplomacy and Journalism. They are led by their group leader, Eliakim Leken, who is academic master, and the tutors, Mary Nyaruru, Mohamed Hussein, and Baraka Martin. They are 40, the group of 40 students who are here to grace our proceedings today. So can you stand up for recognition? And you being the students of International Relations and Diplomacy, in the coming years, some of you will be in this house, most likely. And we pray that it happens. So thank you very much for your presence. Yes.
Item number 3 on order paper. Bills.
Procedure, Mr. Speaker. Procedure.
Honorable Dr. Makame.
Mr. Speaker, I'm standing on the procedure, and I'd like to refer to Article 48 of the treaty of establishing the East African Community. The treaty, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the treaty, Article 48(1), it reads that members of this house, there shall be 9 members from each partner state, and that there will be ex-officio members who are ministers responsible for EAC affairs from each partner state. So, Mr. Speaker, why I'm raising here is because we've been continuously and consistently lacking a member from one partner state not making appearance to this house. And we've seen the Honorable Chair Council taking oath virtually. We've been flexible. We amended our rules. Now we are also having virtual procedures where a person who is not available to appear physically in the chamber can attend virtually. But that particular member, Mr. Speaker, I wouldn't like to name him. I can also name the member. It's from the Republic of South Sudan. So, Mr. Speaker, I'd like now to know, because now we are having very important reports that are going to be tabled to this House on integrating the Republic of South Sudan with the EAC integration. How we are going to speed up the integration of the Republic of South Sudan, and the colleague from South Sudan, who is supposed to be the government representative, does not even make it here, does not even come virtually. So, Mr. Speaker, kindly guide us on how we move forward. And if we can have a motion to that, we can move a motion. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The microphone is still on. So Honorable Dr. Makame started by a promise that he was going to withhold the name, but but I'm not sure he succeeded in that plan. So you are raising a very important point. Honestly, the business here is to discuss how we can integrate our newest member in the community. And I think the frontline person in that discussion should be the minister from that country. So what is the message he's sending to this house? that it doesn't matter? That are we having our priorities the wrong way? Yes, I don't. So should we start with the process of integrating the minister before we integrate the Republic of South Sudan? Eh? Eh? So it is a very unfortunate situation. If it was a one-off incident, it wouldn't be an issue. But this is someone we have never seen here. Yes. So it causes us, honestly, to question well, the motive or the commitment. I don't know how we can put it. In any case, honorable members, in any case, this is about the Republic of South Sudan. That is bigger than any particular individual. So we shall continue with our discussion. But wherever he is, he needs to understand that this house believes he should have been here. And that his absence is offending us. And it is offending the purpose for which we are sitting here. And the purpose for which the Republic of South Sudan is a member of the East African Community. So we shall go ahead with our discussion on how to integrate the Republic of South Sudan. I like the Honorable Betty Maina, who just took oath, spoke about that subject. So everyone understands the importance of integrating fully the Republic of South Sudan. But the Republic of South Sudan must be here. The members are here, yes, but the members are here in their own capacity as members. If we want to put a question to the Republic of South Sudan, there is not going to be a member who can competently, legally respond on the behalf of the Republic of South Sudan. Members are here to represent 6 countries. The Republic of South Sudan should be represented by the minister, whom we have never seen. Yes, we have never seen him in this house. Does anybody remember when we last had him? Yes. So it's really a challenge. Honestly, it is a challenge. It is a challenge. What is the ministry called? The Republic of South Sudan, the EAC ministry. Only. So someone who is also deputy prime minister is here.
Procedure.
Yes. So a minister for EAC affairs, without anything added to that docket, cannot find time for EAC affairs. So what are the other affairs that he is handling?
Procedure, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Mary.
Mr. Speaker, with all the due respect to your guidance, and please do excuse me, but I think that having said what you have said, and having known all of us that we have been yearning to meet even the council, our council member from the Republic of South Sudan, and given the fact that he never comes, and given the fact that today, the main business of the House is about integrating the Republic of South Sudan into the EAC, a subject matter that he should really be interested in, I would like to propose, Mr. Speaker, that he does not spoil anything, but it would make a statement. If we postponed this particular item from today to the next sitting of Parliament, and we request the council member, or even tomorrow, yes, he can go virtually. We have provided the option of members going virtual. The council member for the Republic of Kenya has just appeared and has been sworn in virtually. If really the council member for the Republic of South Sudan, and in so doing,
put it as a motion.
yes.
Is it a motion you are moving?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Okay. Does it
Mr.
have a
Speaker,
second? Can somebody second the motion? Honorable Akor, Honorable Fatuma, and the other members. So those
Thank
in
you.
favor of the motion that we postpone until tomorrow, when we believe the council member from South Sudan will be present, say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. So we will stay this item until tomorrow, and we believe the council member from the Republic of South Sudan will be here. If he is not here tomorrow, we shall take other measures as well. Thank you. Let us proceed.
Item number 3 on the order paper, bills first reading, starting with Roman 1.
Honorable Council Chair,
Honorable Speaker,
Honorable Kimbisa, yes.
apologies, Honorable Speaker, for that. Honorable Speaker, I think what the Honorable Makame raised, I think we need also to put some more meat into the whole thing. You and me, we
Honorable
remember in
Kimbisa,
the-
if you have an advice to give me, draft some note for me, because we can't debate something we have ruled on. But you can draft something of an advice to me and I will give it importance. Write a note to me.
I
You
was
cannot
just
reopen the
building on-
debate on a matter we have ruled about. Yes.
We've already finished.
Sorry?
Okay,
You can write a note to me and
okay,
we'll exchange about it.
okay.
Okay, so I call the council chair to move the motion.
Honorable Speaker and members of the House, as indicated, I've been requested by the Honorable Betty Maina to stand in for the chair of the council. And in that capacity, the Council of Ministers has 3 bills. And notwithstanding the structure of the order paper, there are actually 3. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm proceeding under Rule 66 of the Rules of Procedure. I beg to move that the East African Financial Services Commission Bill 2022 be read for the first time.
Thank you, Honorable Prime Minister, standing in for the council chair.
The East African Community Financial Services Bill 2022.
Honorable Kadaga, first switch off the microphone first. Yes. So the bill is referred to the Committee on General Purpose. Yes. Honorable Rose, what is it?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, under normal circumstances, when our chair council and the representative now, the Right Honorable Kadaga is here, reading these bills. And normal procedure, the bills should be here with us because you are referring them to a committee. But where I am here, I don't see anyone with a bill here. We don't have any, so
Honorable Rose.
they're being distributed.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, because there is nothing here, so.
Yeah, and I have some copies here. I think they gave me more than I need.
Okay, that's fine then.
Yeah.
Then we can proceed. Thank you.
Okay, sure. All
I
right.
just needed that clarification, right?
It's okay.
Honorable?
They're being distributed. Sorry for the delay. So this one has been referred to the Committee on General Purpose.
Still under the same item, Roman 2.
Honorable Council Chair.
The Speaker and other members, under Rule 66 of the Rules of Procedure, I beg to move that the East African Community Surveillance, Compliance, and Enforcement Commission Bill 2022 be read for the first time.
The East African Community Surveillance, Compliance, and Enforcement Bill 2022.
The bill is referred to the Committee on Legal Rules and Privileges.
Still under the same item, Roman 3.
Honorable Council Chair.
Mr. Speaker and other members, under Rule 66 of our Rules of Procedure, I beg to move that the East African Community Standardization, Accreditation, and Conformity Assessment Bill 2022 be read for the first time.
The East African Community Standardization, Accreditation, and Conformity Assessment Bill 2022.
The bill is referred to the Committee on Communication, Trade, and Investments. Before you proceed, Mr. Clark, thank you, Honorable Kadaga. Honorable members, I think it's not just an experience in this fourth era, but even in the third era, I have no recollection of the council coming with 3 bills at the same time. So this is a very big development. Yeah, it's a very, very good positive development that council is now doing the right thing, bringing the bills to this house. Because most of the bills we have been dealing with are private members' bills, which even rarely get assented to. But members struggle to come up with bills to fill the gaps where council hasn't done that. So we thank the council for coming up with these bills, and especially because they are the bills that are taking us to another level of integration. So we hope we'll continue to work together with the council to make sure that we process these bills as soon as possible. And we have started that kind of interaction with the council. Thank you very much.
Item number 5 on the order paper, which now becomes item number 4. Report of the Committee on Accounts on the oversight activity to assess the status of institutional development of Kasawa in the level of enforcement of safety, harmonization of civil air transport policies, and the civil aviation rules and regulations in the region, by way of motion.
Committee Chair. This is Committee on Accounts, right? Yes. Our Honorable Kalonzo is not here. Is there anyone standing for him? Office of the Clerk, do we have this report? Yes, this report was tabled. So what we are supposed to do today is to read the report. So for the reasons that I don't know yet, the committee chair is not here, but any member can do that. So a member of the Committee on Accounts. Can members of the Committee on Accounts stand up, please? So I will pick one of you. Honorable Kakoza, you have never read any report in this house. Yes. So Honorable Kakoza, move the motion first. The clerk should assist you.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I move a motion of the Committee on Accounts, report for the Committee on Accounts to assess the status of institutional development of Kasawa and the level of enforcement of safety, harmonization of civil air transport policies, and civil aviation rules and regulations in the East African region.
Okay, you move that it gets adopted. Seconders, Honorable Fatuma Ibrahim, Honorable Mnya, and all members standing. Now, Honorable Kakoza, you can use this podium to present the report. Isn't it a good choice?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I'll automatically go to introduction, Right Honorable Speaker. The East African Legislative, the legislative organ of the East African Community responsible for, among other things, carrying out oversight function in all matters pertaining to the community. Article 49(2)(c) of the treaty establishing the East African Community empowers the Committee of Accounts to discharge the oversight function on behalf of the Assembly on all financial matters of community. According to Annex 5A of the Rules of Procedure of the Assembly, the Committee on Accounts is mandated to do Roman 1, carry out a post-audit review and scrutiny of the expenditure incurred by the EAC Secretariat. Organs and institutions of the community and the sums appropriated in the annual budget approved by Eala upon presentation of the chairperson of Council of Ministers of EAC. Roman 2, carry out a post-audit review and scrutiny of the expenditure on the basis of the annual audit report of the Audit Commission pursuant of the provision of Article 49, 2C, and 134 of the Treaty of Establishment of the East African Community. This function involves scrutinizing and evaluating the performance of the budget. Carry out a post-audit function that encompasses the monitoring and implementation of the budget in the similar internal audit pursuant to Rule 74.1 of the Rules of Procedure of the Assembly. And Roman 4, present a report with recommendation to the House for consideration, approval, and adoption after the post-audit review and scrutiny. Article 92 of the treaty establishing the East African Community obligates that the Audit Commission submit its report to the Council, which shall cause the same to be laid on the floor of the Assembly within 6 months of the receipt of the debate, adoption, and such other action as the Assembly may deem necessary. Over the last couple of years, the Accounts Committee, as mandated by the above statutory obligations, has undertaken the oversight to assess the level of implementation of the Assembly recommendation of the EAC audited accounts. It is against this background that the Committee on Accounts undertook the oversight activity to assess the status of institutional development of Kasawa and the level of enforcement of safety, harmonization of civil air transport policies, and civil aviation rules and regulations in the region. The activity was conducted in Entebbe, Uganda, from 31st October to 3rd November 2021. Peggy 4, Bullet 2.20, background information perceptive of the air services and usage in East Africa. The aviation industry has a vital role to play in achieving sustainable growth and development in East Africa. The expansion of air services is a necessary condition to the development of more diverse export base across the continent and for the expansion of tourism to the region. Improvements in the air transport infrastructure would go a long way and help raise living standards and alleviate poverty in Africa by lowering transport costs, supporting more rapid economic growth, and increasing personal mobility. Air transport can open and connect markets, facilitating trade and enabling African firms to link into global supply chains. Enhancing air connectivity can also help raise productivity by encouraging investment and innovation, as well as improving business operations and efficiency. Air transport is indispensable for tourism, where convenient air services facilities the arrival of larger numbers of tourists to a region or country. Africa is the smallest region for air services in the world, reflecting its low income and lack of air transport infrastructure. It accounted for only 4.1% of the total world passenger traffic in 2002 and just 1.6% of the world air cargo traffic. Moreover, the use of air services is very concentrated within Africa. The 10 biggest national markets account for 70% of the total number of passengers traveling by air in the region and 90% of cargo flights. However, aviation is the main transport mode in international flows in the continent, and its importance relative to other modes of transport is increasing. Infrastructure, that is, airports and air traffic management, is essential to the growth and functioning of air transport services. In many African countries, more than elsewhere in the world, infrastructure inefficiencies coupled with limited competition of making market access both difficult and expensive. In addition, safety issues are a source of concern, particularly given the prospective growth in demand for air services. While many air markets between Africa and outside Africa have been liberalized, and to the significant extent, most intra-African aviation markets remain largely closed, subject to restrictive bilateral agreements, which limit the growth and development of air services. This has limited the potential of aviation to be an engine of growth and development. Recognizing that this restrictive arrangement was limiting growth, many African nations adopted the Yamoussoukro decision in 1999. This agreement committed the 44 signatory countries to deregulating air services and promoting regional air markets opening to transitional competition. However, the implementation of this agreement has been slow and limited, and thus the potential benefits of liberalizing intra-Africa air markets remain largely unrealized. Take a note of the World Bank report, Mobility and Transport Connectivity Series, Policy Note 2022. Page 5. The 17th Sectoral Council of Transportation, Communication and Meteorology, 21st to 25th June 2021, considered the aspect of regulations for liberalization of air transport services in the EAC. It examined the factors affecting the cost of air tickets in the East African and international economic regulations for air transport. It also tackled the aspects of safety in the aviation industry. Objective of the activity. The objectives of the activity included the following: to assess the organizational setup, challenges, mandate, achievements, and challenges of Kasawa. To assess the level of enforcement of safety and harmonization of civil air transport policies and civil aviation rules and regulations in the region. 3, to remark recommendation to the Council of Ministers on measures to be undertaken in harmonization of civil air transport policies and civil aviation rules and regulations in the region. The committee adopted the following methodology in compiling the report. 1, interacted and held discussions with the management of the Kasawa. 2, received presentation from the management of Kasawa and measures being undertaken in the harmonization of civil air transport policies and civil aviation rules and regulations in the region. 3, perused and studied the relevant literature pertaining to the aviation industry in the EAC region. And 4, and held committee meeting to discuss the report. 4.0, assessment of the organization setup, mandate, and challenges of Kasawa. 4.1, establishment of Kasawa. The East African Community Civil Aviation Safety and Security Oversight Agency, Kasawa, was established by the East African Council of Ministers on 18th April 2007, following the signing of the protocol on establishment of the East African Civil Aviation Safety and Security by the 3 founder partner states. Kasawa started operations on 1st June 2007 as an autonomous self-accounting institution of the East African community. It was thereafter formally launched on 18th June 2007 during the 5th Extraordinary Summit of East African Heads of State held in Kampala, Uganda. The mandate of Kasawa is based on Article 92 of the East African Community Treaty, under which the partner states undertook to make air transport services efficient and profitable, adopt common policies for the development of civil air transport in the region, harmonize civil aviation laws and regulations, and coordinate and cooperate measures in the maintaining of high security in the aviation sector. The agency was established to promote the safe, secure, and efficient use and development of civil aviation within the outside partner states. The agency also tasked to assist, support, and advise the partner state in their endeavor to meet their safety and security oversight obligation and responsibilities under the Chicago Convention and its annex. the objective of the agents. The objective of the Kasawa are to promote safe, secure, efficient use and development of civil aviation among the partner states, to assist partner states in meeting their safety and security oversight obligations, and to provide partner states with appropriate forum and structures to discuss, plan, and implement common measures required for achieving the safe and orderly development of internal civil aviation. 4.3 functions of Kasawa, they include the following: harmonizing operating regulation to ensure that they meet international standards and recommended practices, developing standardized procedures for licensing, approving, certificating, and supervising civil aviation activities, and providing guidance and assistance to partner states, including putting in place measures for resource sharing, particularly for the technical personnel. Membership and organization setup of Kasawa. Membership is determined by being a part of the EAC Treaty and acceding to the protocol. The Republic of Burundi, the Republics of Burundi, Kenya, Rwanda, South Sudan, Uganda, and the United Republic of Tanzania are members of Kasawa. Page 7. The organizational setting of Kasawa include the board, the secretariat, other organs and officials as the board may consider necessary, that is technical committees, working groups, officers. The board reports to the Council of Ministers. Agency activities. Kasawa operations are supported by the financial and export contribution from the partner states. Inspectors from partner states facilitate the activities of the agency in the regular working group meetings. Annual operational plans provide the activities to be conducted through the year and associated budget. The technical committees review the activities conducted by the working groups and makes recommendation to the board for consideration and approval as appropriate on a quarterly basis. Technical assistance to the partner states are undertaken preparation for ICAO safety and security audits and development of collective action plans. Technical assistance is rendered to the partner states to establish and maintain state safety programs, SSP. Development, review, and development of Model ES Primary Civil Aviation Act and Aircraft Accident and Incident Investigations Act. Last, the agency of activities. Development, review, and amendment of the Model ES Civil Aviation Regulation development, review, amendment of technical guidance materials. 4.6, major ongoing projects being implemented by Kasawa. Implementation of EU Africa Safety in Aviation, EU-ASA, project funded by European Union and coordinated by European Aviation Safety Agency, EACA, establishment and organization East African Examination System for Aviation Personnel. This is an ongoing activity. Every year, Kasawa purchases new examination questions from various aviation colleges from Europe, like European Central Question Bank, EC2B, and aviation exams, among others. Kasawa then domesticates the exams for use. Implementation of project on common licensing system funded by EAC states through civil aviation authorities. This project aims at developing a framework for implementing the mechanism of improving the mobility of licensed personnel at a regional level. Yet, the committee therefore recommends to the Assembly to urge the Council of Ministers to ensure that Kasawa fast tracks the process of conducting the automatic licenses validation so as to enhance the mobility for the licensed aviation personnel. The benefits accruing will be for the EAC citizenry. The enhanced cooperation and collaboration agreements with global civil aviation organizations such as International Civil Aviation Organizations, ICAO, African Civil Aviation Commission, AFCAC, African Union Commission, AUC, the Banjul Accord Group Aviation Safety Oversight Organization, BAGASOO, European Union Air Safety Agency, EASA, and the Regional Safety Oversight Organization for Global Aviation Safety, RSOOS. According to the ICAO audits, which were carried out in 2018 and 2020, Kasawa was ranked as the best performing safety and oversight agency in Africa and the second in the world. The committee applauds Kasawa board and management on this major milestone and urges it not to relent, but strive to be the best in the world. Implementation of the Regional Safety Oversight Organization, Cooperative Platform, and Global Aviation Safety Oversight initiates with ICAO headquarters, Montreal, Canada. Sorry. Under this sector, the number of activities have been implemented, such as enhancement of aviation safety, as well as the efficiency and the regularity of air transport within the ESC and SADC regions. Harmonization of technical regulations, compliance with ICAO, SARPS, development of model procedures for effective implementation of CARPS, strengthening of institutional framework for aviation safety and security within ESC and SADC regulations. The committee applauds Kasawa board and management for these enhanced cooperative approaches with these global safety agencies. It's the considered opinion of the committee that the synergies accruing from these collaborations will ultimately and hopefully generate better solutions and help to ensure that Kasawa achieves its organizational objectives, vision, and mission. 5.7 achievements. The agency has registered the following achievements. Bullet 1, develop the model of ES primary civil aviation legislation for adoption and promulgation by partner states. Development of model ES regulation for adoption and promulgation by partner states. These are meant to set out the orderly development and harmonization of civil aviation practices in partner states. Owing to the changing nature in the aviation industry due to the fast development technologies, Kasawa has been updating the regulation to keep them relevant and applicable. Development model in ES technical guidance materials for adoption and by partner states. Marked improvement and amongst partner states on effective implementation of safety and security oversight system. Actively contributing to regional and global initiatives toward the restart and recovery of air transport during post-COVID-19. Kasawa has been at the forefront of proposing harmonized measures to suit the post-COVID era. However, the partner states have a final say on the proposed measures. Pooling of resources and such as sharing of inspectors. Harmonized regulatory framework and technical guidance, materials, practices in the ESC region. Another achievement, enhanced capacity building among partner states through inspector training systems, ITS. Regular trainings are undertaken in various partner states to enhance the skills of staff of the various ES aviation agencies. For instance,
Honorable Kakoza, just 1 minute. Yes. The microphone.
On page 7, it ends with 4.6. And then it goes to 5.7 on page 9. So there's a bit of an issue, and I'd like to just get clarification. If it's 4.7 or 5.7, because it goes, and if you follow, it goes to 6. there's an issue there.
You think
The
there is a content
number.
that is lost or is just numbering?
I think here what it means is, right, Honorable
Okay,
Speaker,
is it
it
a
should
mere
be
error of numbering?
numbering, the issue of numbering.
Okay, if it is an issue of numbering, it can be corrected. But if there is no content lost, then we are okay. Is that fine? Yes, yes, before you proceed, honorable members, let me also recognize the presence of Nunu Abdallah Mwamba. This is Honorable Leontine's daughter. And she's a student of Institute of Finance Management in the accounting and the IT department, second year. So this is the right time for her to be here, being a student of accounts. So thank you. Where are you? No?
I'm still
All right,
on
thank you so much.
page
Yeah.
9. That's bulletin 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. Harmonized regulatory framework and technical guidance materials practices in the East African region as an achievement. Enhanced capacity building among partner states through inspector training systems. The regular trainings are undertaken various partner states to enhance the skills of staff of the various East African Community Aviation agencies. For instance, a training is underway at Speak Resort Hotel Munyonyo in Uganda, sponsored by the European Safety Aviation Agency. This training is from 21st February to 26, 2022. Harmonized regional roadmap for implementation of state safety programs, safety management system. Sustained stakeholders engagement at regional and global levels through regional aviation. In this regard, Kasawa coordinated the 5th ESC Aviation Symposium, which was held from 27th to 20th February 2020 at Hotel Club de Rue Bujumbura in Burundi, and the 4th ES Aviation Symposium, which was also held from 1st to 2nd February 2018 at Crown Plaza Hotel, Nairobi, Kenya. Therefore, the committee was informed that due to COVID-19 pandemic resource constraints hindered Kasawa from organizing similar symposium. Supported an enhanced collaboration with the ESC Secretariat to solicit funds to finance projects developed by the agency from the World Bank Group, China Fund, EU and UAE funding resources. Gender parity has 50 to 50%. There are 8 female and 11 males. Page 10. The committee recommends Kasawa in this milestone and urges the other ESC organs and institutions to emulate Kasawa by addressing gender imbalance when filling positions. 5.8 challenges. The agency has been facing the following challenges. Bulletin 1, sharply declining revenues from the civil aviation authorities among the partner states since Kasawa receives remittance from civil aviation agencies. This has necessitated the Kasawa to take resilience measures due to the reduced revenues. The reduced funding was attributed to COVID-19 pandemic that has affected air travel globally. Another challenge, the inability to implement any operations plans and disruption of activities to meet the strategic objectives set out in the Kasawa 3rd strategic plan. The declined oversight capabilities and compliance with aviation standards among partner states as a result of COVID-related measures. It's a challenge. Staffing challenges, hence affecting Kasawa from implementing its mandate. Existential competence deficit brought by expiration of pilot certificates license holders during the pandemic era. And last, the uncertainty on the recovering trend due to persistent emerging recurring of various coronavirus variants at global magnitude. Here, I think also from 5.8, it could have been 5.9, right, Honorable Speaker, which will be corrected later. We go to 6.0. Committee observation. Could have been observation. and the recommendations. Right, Honorable Speaker, there is a misspelling of the observations. Declining revenues and lack of timely remittance from partner states. The committee observed a trend of declining revenues, which has been caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. This has affected the implementation of the key planned activities and reduced on oversight and safety. The non-remittances were in breach of the Regulation 25A of Kasawa Financial Rules and Regulations 2013, which require contributions from partner states to be made on 1st July of each every financial year, and the first installment paid within the first 3 months, and second by January of the financial year. For financial year 2018-2019, Kasawa had budgeted to collect the revenue of USD 2,600,908 from the following sources. I think in the interest of time, I will, since we have all the copies, I want to read the figures of table 1. However, from the above review, it indicates that there was a shortfall of USD 435,000 USA dollars, 830, all 17% in terms of percentage. Kasawa budgeted USD 2,400,702 as a contribution from partner states. However, only USD 1,969,969 was realized. This was as a result of South Sudan Civil Aviation Authority not paying its contribution of 430,735 as required. Committee observation. Insufficient remittances of contribution limits Kasawa to fully implement its activities on time. Committee recommendation. The committee therefore recommends to the Assembly to urge the Council of Ministers to ensure that partner states meet their financial commitments timely, such that Kasawa can implement its planned activities. The inability to implement annual operations plan. This was attributed to non-remittances from the various partner states. Kasawa has not been able to call up the planned activities which have a bearing on safety and security. The committee recommendation. The committee recommends that the Assembly urge the Council of Ministers to ensure that Kasawa explores the avenues of raising revenue, such as soliciting development partners to fund the agency's activities. Declined oversight capabilities and compliance to aviation standards among partner states as a result of COVID-related measures. The committee observed that aviation is one of the most regulated sectors in the world. Pilots are among the very few professionals that are required to do repeated training as well as complete regular and rigorous examinations to maintaining the existing skills and develop new ones. Prior to becoming an airline pilot, a person has to go through many training stages that in total can take up 2 years of intensive education. However, the issue of a license and a relevant certificate does not mean that there would be no more training. Training is a faithful companion and international compulsory requirement for each pilot throughout his or her entire career. In addition, airline pilots are probably tested more than any other profession every 12 months as directed by ICAO. Pilots must complete and pass the following exams. 1, pass a medical assessment ensuring they are fit to fly, reduced to every 6 months when above the age of 60. 2, complete a line check. Every 6 months, pilots must go into simulator whereby the practice of emergency procedures while being assessed by an examiner over a couple of days. They have to complete technical testing to ensure they maintain a high level of technical proficiency on their aircraft type. complete crew resource management training. This is where pilots are taught about how human factors can affect flight safety, aviation security training, and dangerous goods examination. If the pilot fails an element of this, he or she is removed from flight duties and could not ultimately lose their job. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the resources for training in most partner states were diverted, and this affected the annual training programs of pilots in the East African partner states. Committee recommendation. The committee recommends the Assembly to urge the Council of Ministers to ensure that, notwithstanding COVID-19 pandemic, resources for training should be mobilized to comply with the ICAO regulation so as to improve the safety of the airlines in the East African Community region. Expiry of certificates, license holders during the pandemic era, and lack of a flight simulator in the ESC region. A flight simulator is a device that artificially recreates aircraft flight and the environment in which it flies for pilot training, design, or other purposes. It replicates the mechanisms and processes that govern how aircraft fly, how they react to application of flight controls, the effects of other aircraft systems, and how the aircraft reacts to external factors such as air density, turbulence, wind shear, cloud, and perception, etc. The committee was informed that due to the COVID-19 pandemic, licensed pilots were unable to maintain the 6-month skills tests or check, which is a mandatory requirement in the aviation industry. This was attributed to the borders being closed and the restrictive travel regulation partner states have put on their ports of entry. Thus, accessing flight simulators for recurrence checks become a huge challenge. The committee further notes that the COVID-19 pandemic notwithstanding, within ESC region is only Kenya Airline KQ and the sister airline Jambo Jet, which have acquired simulators. The Boeing of 737 flight simulator for KQ and the D-82-400 for Jambo Jet. The committee noted that although ESC proposal of acquiring flight simulators would be a viable option due to the current fragmentation of the ESC fleet of aircraft, it wouldn't make any economic sense to acquire them. Flight simulators makes economic sense if the fleet is between 23 to 25 aircraft. In view of the foregoing, it makes sense to send pilots for training abroad. Committee recommendation. The committee recommends to the Assembly to urge the Council of Ministers to ensure that Roman 1, ESC partner states develop a harmonized fleet acquisition policy that brings about economies of scale in training and maintenance. Roman 2, ESC region should acquire flight simulators to enhance the training for pilots. 7.0, assessment of the level of enforcement of safety and harmonization of civil air transport policies and civil aviation rules and regulations in the region. Article 92.1 of the treaty establishing the East African Community oblige East African Community partner states to harmonize their policies on civil aviation to promote the development of safe, reliable, efficient, and economically viable civil aviation with a view to developing appropriate infrastructure, aeronautical skills, and technology, as well as the role of aviation in support of other economic activities. In addition, the treaty obliges partner states to take necessary steps to adopt common policies for development of civil air transport in the community in collaboration with other relevant international organizations, including the African Civil Aviation Commission, AFCAC, the African Airlines Association, AFRAA, the International Air Transport Association, IATA, and International Civil Aviation Organization, which is ICAO. in a bid to undertake and ensure compliance of the level of enforcement of safety and the harmonization of civil air transport policies and civil aviation rules and regulation in the region, Kasawa has undertaken the following measures. 1, harmonize the operating regulation to ensure that they meet international standards and recommended practices. Kasawa harmonized the civil aviation safety and security regulations among the EAC partner states. The model EAC civil aviation acts and regulations were developed and have been disseminated to partner states for use. It's only the Republic of South Sudan that has not yet undertaken the International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO, and the University Safety Oversight Audit Programs, SOPA audits. In addition, Kasawa has been supporting the process to ensure the partner states pass the ICAO audits. The committee was informed that the attempts by partner states to establish regional accident and investigation agencies that deals within aviation accidents and incidents have never been successful. As such, the region does not have a regional coordinator for handling and investigating aviation accidents and accident capabilities as and when they occur. The ICAO audits of accidents and instead investigations compliance with international standards is the way below the global average in East African partner states as shown in the table below. I think, right, Honorable Speaker, I can go to the committee observation in the interest of time. The committee observation. Due to the failure of setting up regional accident investigation agents, EAC region leaves the EAC vulnerable and reliant on external agents to deal with aircraft accident and incident investigations when and where they occur. Number 2, the committee commend the Republic of Rwanda and Kenya for steady and remarkable improvement over the years and urges partner states to put in place robust mechanisms of complying with the accidents and incident investigations as spelled out in the ICAO standards. Committee recommendation. The committee recommends that the Assembly to urge the Council of Ministers to ensure that this function on the interim is delegated to Kasawa as the region oversight and safety agency until AIR is established within the EAC region. Roman 3, the Republic of South Sudan airspace. The committee observed that the airspace of the Republic of South Sudan is still being controlled by the Republic of Sudan, implying that in this case, Sudan closes its airspace. The Republic of South Sudan airspace would also close. Recommendation. The committee recommends to Assembly to urge the Council of Ministers to ensure that the Republic of South Sudan is facilitated to establish an effective civil aviation safety and security oversight system prior to an ICAO audit. This is because failure to audit results into airspace. I think that one, there is a mistake. This is because failure of the audit would, not wound, result into the airspace being deemed unsafe and hence possible closure of the Republic of South Sudan airspace. Number 4, developed standard procedures for the following licensing and approving, certificating, and supervising of aviation activities. Kasawa developed and harmonized procedures and policies for oversight functions in civil aviation in the region, including certification and licensing of operations and personnel. Model EAC technical guidance, material procedures, and manuals were developed and were disseminated to partner states for use. 5, providing guidance and assistance to partner states, including putting in place measures for resource sharing, particularly for technical personnel. Kasawa has been pooling resources and expertise in East African partner states In addition, it has established and implemented among the partner states the Civil Aviation Safety Inspectors Program in East African partner states. A memorandum of undertaking with civil aviation authorities was reached, and procedures manual was developed which spelled out modalities for sharing of civil aviation safety inspectors within the EAC partner states. The committee was informed that resource constraints at Kasawa and in the partner states aviation agencies affects the agents' capability to keep the technical staff in the partner states with the required skills. Committee recommendation. The committee recommends to the Assembly to urge the Council of Ministers to ensure that the resources are mobilized such that safety programs are implemented across the East African partner states. Center for Aviation Medicine. As part of harmonizing and improving safety and oversight in the aviation sector across the EAC, partner states of East African Community took part in the Universal Safety Oversight Audit Program, also of the International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO. The USOP identified shortcomings in the implementation of ICAO standards and recommended practices, SARPs, within the region in related to designated medical examiners and the use of medical assessors. As a result, there was an acknowledgement of civil aviation authorities to have access to aviation medicine center that would assist to guide and train aviation medical assessors in ICAO SARPS compliance. The center will develop and implement regional partner states mission schedules for evaluation of the status of aviation medical related standards and provisions of corrective action plans to close the identified gaps, and review, evaluate aviation medicine related regulations, policies, and standardized technical guidelines. As a result, Council approved the establishment of the EAC Center for Aviation Medicine and started its functionality in February 2014. It was first located in Entebbe. Kasawa headquarters, its Kasawa headquarters I think there is a mistake. It was first located in Entebbe. Kasawa headquarters, later they are located in Nairobi. Kenya, where the government of the Republic of Kenya donated 4 acres of land at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport to elect an EAC Center Aviation Medicine. The committee was informed by the Kasawa management that USD $2.5 million is needed to make it operational. However, January 2022 council decision approved only 400,000, leaving a shortfall of $2.1 million. Committee observation. The committee approved the government of the Republic of Kenya for donating the prime land to the EAC and takes a note of the deep-rooted interest and the well-meaning it has for the EAC integration agenda. Page 18. The failure to honor the remaining funds will inhibit Kasawa from operationalizing the CAMs, thus failing to meet the objectives under which it was established, thus rendering it a white elephant. Committee recommendation. The committee recommends to the Assembly to urge Council of Ministers to avail the remaining funds such as that CAM can be operational as a regional center for aviation of medicine. 7, factors affecting costs of air tickets in the EAC and international economic regulations for air transport. According to the World Bank report on Mobility and Transport Connectivity Series. Policy Note 2022 published in February 2022. Run operating an airline involves significant financial costs, which are exorbitant in Africa due to high operating costs and quality-constrained environment. Airline operators have had to confront with significant infrastructure fees, charges, and taxes, as well as above average fuel and ticket contribution costs, among others. Similarly, constrained access to the credit, high indebtedness, and restricted market access have bogged down an efficient, profitable supply of air transport services in the continent. As a result, pre-COVID-19, many African airlines were already facing insolvency due to the sustained unprofitability and debt burden. They were in serious need of debt restructuring with the aim of right-sizing their overall debt burden to a sustainable level, commensurate with their market size and cash generation potential. The following specific factors affect the cost of air ticket in EAC region. 1, cost of ticket, that is passenger paid taxes and fees. The committee observed that air transport in East Africa is generally expensive by international standards, going by the current high passenger airfares and freight charges. The expensive rates on both passenger and cargo flights contribute to the high cost of doing business in the region. For instance, a passenger airline ticket between Entebbe and Nairobi costs $380 on average, while that between Nairobi and Dar es Salaam is between $350 and $400 for economic class. It is estimated that 43% of air ticket prices in EAC comprise of regulatory charges and taxes, landing and parking rates, with regulatory fees accounting for up 24%. USD 64 is the average amount paid of taxes and fees paid in Africa by a passenger. In Europe, passengers are charged 30.23 USD, while in the Middle East, they are charged USD 29.65, in spite of the fact that air traffic is much more significant in these regions. Air navigation service charges are levied on the air operators to cater for in-route, approach, and inter-terminal area costs. The table below illustrates the passenger fee charged in EAC partner states. I think members, you have the table and the copy. I want to read. The committee was informed that the 17th Sector Council in Transportation, Communication and Meteorology, 21st and 25th June 2021, directed the partner states to harmonize their air travel policies of each partner state. Examination of the factors that determine air ticket cost and involvement of it should be uniform in the air travel regulation. Despite this directive, partner states are yet to conclude on the harmonization of the air ticket travel policies. Committee observation. 1, huge variations in air navigation charges and the high cost of air transport have made air travel very expensive in the region. Roman 2, harmonization of the rates and formulas in the East African community will bring more transparency and lead to reduction to the ticket costs of East African community members. Committee recommendation. The committee recommends the Assembly to urge the Council of Ministers to, Roman 1, to direct the Secretariat to hold a meeting of Air Transport Subcommittee with the relevant stakeholders, that is government, revenue collection agencies, to develop strategies for reducing cost of air transport in the East African Community region by December 2022. Second recommendation, urgently direct the partner states through EAC Secretariat to review and harmonize charging mechanisms fees and taxes levied on airlines to reduce ticket costs so as to enhance demand for air travel. 3, fast track the implementation of the YAMSCRO decision in the EAC, and this will lead to the domestication of the airspace with the benefits conveyed to the customer. This would go a long way in reducing the flight cost. 2, air navigation service charges in East Africa. Air navigation service charges are levied on air operators to cater for en-route, approach, and in-terminal area costs. En-route charges are levied for each flight performed in the Eurocontrol airspace. Eurocontrol route charges takes account basic elements such as the distance factor, that is for each charging zone, the aircraft weight factor, and the unit rate of charge for each charging zone. The committee observed that most of the East African community countries have huge variations on air navigation charges, and these have a huge bearing on the cost of travel. The committee noted that, further instance, a flight operated by B737-800 with MTO of 7 tons, operating at a distance of 1,000 nautical miles, that is 1,852 kilometers. En-route charges will be in partner states. This is very important, right, Honorable Speaker, that partner states en-route charges, Republic of Burundi is $53 US. Republic of Kenya, 219.71. Republic of Rwanda, 100. Republic of South Sudan, airspace jurisdiction getting sorted, no charge. United Republic of Tanzania, 140, depends on flights per day. And Republic of Uganda, 125 US. Coupled with the above, other airport fees include payment for other services like landing, noise, parking, common user terminal equipment, flight information display system, gateway charge, passenger bus, lighting, counter, firefighting and prevention, check-in, ground power unit, ground handling, follow me, that's also a charge, hangar, housing, terminal, and towing and pushing and back. Committee observations. All these and other charges increase the cost of the air travel. Africa has 12% of the world's population, but only 1% of the world's air traffic. Committee recommendation. The committee therefore recommends to the Assembly to urge the Council of Ministers to a matter of priority to ensure that, 1, review and harmonize charging mechanisms, fees and taxes with the objective to reduce the ticket cost and stimulate demand in travel by air. Harmonize tax regimes in order to avoid possible uncompetitive advantages between other routes, the routes. Avoid double taxation practices as provided by the ES agreement on double taxation. Ensure that partner states comply to ICAO policy guidelines on airport charges. Harmonize charges to stimulate growth. The price elasticity of demand for airport transport with Africa varies from negative 2.34% to 3.5%. This means that a reduction of 10% of the ticket price can increase the demand from 22.3 to 30.1 million passengers yearly. Enhanced support given to airlines in the view of post-COVID-19 pandemic recovery, and harmonize of the COVID-19 testing fees being levied at the various East African community airports. This will in turn bring more transparency and lead to a reduction to the air tickets cost for East African partner states. Right, Honorable Speaker, The aircraft evaluation and pre-planning EAC partner, aircraft are specifically designed to operate routes a certain distance. So the plane that would be flying on a particular route would be typically a plane designed to fly out the type of route. For instance, below categories of aircraft will be suffice for various routes. I think these members, you have the table with you. The committee observed that a close analysis of the current EAC airline fleet selection leveled various fleets operated by respective EAC partner states is illustrated below, which is table 6. Committee observation. For airline to operate profitably, it must plan its operations around break even within 1 or 2% profit margins. The required seat factor to achieve break even is around 78%, and average seat factor is around 80%. This holds correct for majority of the profit-making airlines. The committee therefore observed that EAC partner states are operating the same types of aircraft with similar capacities. For instance, the Bombardier CRJ-900 and Boeing 737. Kasawa management informed the committee that rarely consulted its advice taken by the partner state whenever purchasing for aircrafts are being made. Aircrafts operate and fly similar routes. This scenario creates unfair competition in the aviation industry within the EAC partner states, hence driving the cost of travel high. Five, the escalation of the cost of repair, purchase of spare parts and training, since airlines are not enhancing the economies of scale, partner states thus cannot negotiate for lucrative deals due to this segmentation, as the case would be if EAC was negotiating as a single block. I think, honorable members, this is a key point to focus on. That's why we are urging for East African airlines, which were there formerly before, that the fleet of airlines can be put in a group and we make cheaper cost of air ticket. Committee recommendations. The committee recommends to Assembly to urge the Council of Ministers to support the cooperation among regional airlines in enhancing operational capacity. Restructuring of airlines to reduce inefficiency. Enhance support given to airlines in view of post-COVID-19 pandemic recovery, and promote the development of low-cost carriers by giving incentives that include terminal facilities which support their operations. And develop strategy to increase non-aeronautical revenues in order to reduce over-reliance on them. Rebrand all the EAC airlines with EAC colors and emblem of EAC, as the case with the EAC passports. Fast track the development of EAC aviation regional policy and the framework. Expedite the plans of ensuring that EAC becomes a one single airspace area. A single African air transport market, SAA team, and the Yamoussoukro decision. Article 38 of the protocol for establishment of the East African Common Market protocol provides for coordinated and harmonized approaches to transport policies to provide for adequate, reliable, safe, and international competitive transport infrastructure modes and services for the development and the consolidation of the common market. The above provisions call for open skies across the region to boost regional trade, tourism, and hospitality sectors. Partner states are expected to consider implementation of the 5th to 9th freedom rights of Yamoussoukro decision to effectively increase capacity, reduce inefficiencies and costs like waiving land fees, excise duty on aviation fuel, along with the reduction of fees for service providers within the region. The committee takes note of the fact that the single African air transport market, SATM, is one of the flagship projects of the African Union's agenda 2063. It's premised on ensuring that aviation plays a major role in connecting African order to achieve social, economic, and political integration and boost inter-African trade. The important benefits of Saturn include the removal of restriction in terms of capacity, frequency, tariffs, fair competition, leading to a reduction of intra-African air transport. The Yamoussoukro decision remained the single most important air transport reform policy initiated by African governments to date. It was adopted out of the recognition that the restrictive and the protectionist intra-African regulatory regime based primarily on bilateral air service agreements hampered the expansion and improvement of air transport on the continent. The committee was informed that although huge strides had been registered by EAC countries, not counties, in actualizing this important milestone, COVID pandemic has hugely affected implementation and operationalization of single African air transport market and single EAC airspace. The committee was informed that retreat of the heads of state summit scheduled in April 2022 to discuss the progress on implementation of the common market protocol and the single EAC airspace among other issues. The committee recommends that to the Assembly to urge the Council of Ministers to fast track the development of EAC aviation regional policy and the framework, expedite the plans of ensuring that EAC becomes one single airspace area. General observation and recommendation, that's page 26. A failure by EAC partner states to harmonize air and transport policies. The committee observed that the date EAC partner states are yet to harmonize air and transport policies. The process of harmonizing have been characterized by various sovereign interests, which still pose a challenge to the realization of this policy. The committee recommends to Assembly to urge the Council of Ministers to expedite and complete this process such that the air and transport policy in EAC are fully harmonized and complying to the treaty. High cost of tickets. This has remained high due to the various reasons which are contained in this report. The committee recommends to the Assembly to urge Council of Ministers to ensure that the factors enumerated that do inhibit the accessibility of East Africans from accessing cheap and affordable air travel are adequately and urgently attended to. Funding remittances to Kasawa. Funding and loan remittances remain a challenge. This limits Kasawa from implementing its annual operation plan. The limited funds has also reduced activities on oversight and safety. The committee recommends to the Assembly to urge Council to ensure that civil aviation agencies honor their financial obligations to Kasawa in a timely manner. Incorporating the Republic of South Sudan. This is still a challenge. The Republic of South Sudan still relies on aviation and nautical services from the Republic of Sudan. In case of close of the South Sudan airspace, the airspace would also automatically be closed, as it was the case some time back. The committee recommends to the Assembly to urge Council of Ministers as a matter of urgency fast track a measure aimed at securing autonomy for the South Sudan airspace. Center for Aviation, I think, CAM. This is supposed to be flagship signature center, not only for EAC, but also for Africa. The committee shall use the Republic of Kenya for the generous offer of donating 4 acres of prime land at Jomo Kenyatta Airport for putting up offices and training center for CAM. The committee is still cognizant and grateful that another offer which was extended to EAC to elect the headquarters of Lake Victoria Basin Commission, LVBC. The committee shall use the government of Kenya for this magnanimity. The above generosity and magnanimity portray the fact that the government of Kenya takes the integration agenda seriously. The committee recommend that Assembly to urge the Council of Ministers to avail the remaining funds of $2.1 million to operationalize the center. Right, Honorable Speaker. Conclusion. The high level of taxes, fees and charges is so critical issue that it's counterproductive for air transport development in Africa. As air transport is considered a luxury service and government agents have tended to overtax supply chains, leading to excessive services charges for the airlines. The average amount of passengers paid taxes and fees applied to air tickets is twice more expensive in Africa than in Europe and the Middle East. Equally, the committee notes that despite the big strides made, harmonizing the air transport policy still poses a big challenge in EAC. Without clearing and agreeing on those bottlenecks, complying with the provisions of Article 92 of the treaty establishing the East African Community, Article 38 of the Protocol for Establishment of East African Common Market Protocol will remain a challenge. This will deny the East Africans the benefits accruing from the integration agenda as directed in Article 7(1)(f) of the treaty. It's the sincere hope of the committee that the council should critically and dedicatedly look into the recommendations proposed by the committee, such that the air and the transport policies are harmonized across the EAC. I beg to submit. Right, Honorable Speaker. Right, Honorable Speaker, acknowledgement. The committee wishes to thank the management of Kasawa, Office of the Clerk, and the committee members of the time input and dedication exhibited while undertaking this activity, and consequently complying this report. And the report is abundant with the wide and deep-ranging recommendations, which, if implemented, will go a long way in addressing the objective and which the activities were undertaken. The report was signed maximally. The committee comprised of 18 members and 17 members signed. I thank you. I thank you, honorable members, for listening to me.
Thank you very much, Honorable. Switch off the microphone. Thank you very much, Honorable Kakoza, for the report on behalf of the committee chair. Honorable members, I now propose the motion that the report of the Committee on Accounts on the oversight activity to assess the status of institutional development of Kasawa and the level of enforcement of safety, harmonization of civil air transport policies, and civil aviation rules and regulations in the region be adopted. Debate is open. And I want to say, I have also noted that this report has a lot of typos. So Office of the Clerk, please try to clean it up so that we file the report that is properly corrected. Honorable Council Chair, I think you may have to come and respond to issues that members raise. Okay, it's a different matter. Honorable Kadaga first.
Honorable Chair, indeed, Speaker, indeed, I don't want to talk about the whole matter, but I have a discomfort on a recommendation on page 13 relating to the harmonized fleet acquisition policy. In my view, this recommendation would have the impact of directing the partner states to create a charge on the consolidated fund to acquire fleets, meaning that those countries that don't have the minimum number will be required under this policy to acquire them. For me, this is a charge under the consolidated fund, and I think I'm not comfortable with it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister. We take note of that. And of course, when the council comes to respond to the debate, you can even emphasize further, but it is noted. Now, I'm ready to take the list of members who wanted to contribute. to the motion? Who wanted to debate it? Honorable Kennedy Mukuria, Honorable Claude, Honorable Oda Gasinzigwa, Honorable Engineer Mnya, Honorable Ambassador Fatuma. Let's start with those first.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker.
So, Honorable Kadaga, Right Honorable, you will be the one to respond to. I think you are still standing in for the council chair. Yeah, yes.
Okay. Thank you once again, Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members. On the onset, let's welcome our new member to this house, the Cabinet Minister from Kenya. Madam, you're so much welcome to this house. And of course, we shall benefit from your presence in this house. You're welcome. Right Honorable Speaker, I also want to thank the Chair Committee on Accounts and the members for a well done job. I believe the work was done really very well as far as the report is concerned. At least it has captured almost everything. And I could remember that 2 or 3 years ago, when I was a member of account, and I decided to run away from that committee because of the work that this committee does. It has been a committee that audits everything. And I tactfully disappeared from that committee because I don't want to be looking at some of those details. But otherwise, the committee, congratulations for work well done, and I appreciate it so much. Right Honorable Speaker, 2 years ago, this house debated the issue of air transport in this community so much. And indeed, we called for even the establishment of a joint airline, reviving our lost airline, that's the East African Airlines, and then when the community collapsed. And this house gave a very good recommendation that could have been taken into. 3 years down the road, nothing has happened. And I believe it's time that if our airlines could not definitely join hands and move this community, we could now ask for a domestication of our airspace so that we could be able to have a very revised rates. Right, Honorable Speaker, when I travel from Juba to Nairobi, I pay $780 as cost of air transport. That is so much expensive than to travel from Juba to London. And that is the kind of fees that we have. Indeed, it is important that we should be thinking of alternatives. In case one alternative fails, let's look at where best we could be able to put into another means of which we can be able to cover that lost part. Right, Honorable Speaker, as far as also the airspace of South Sudan is concerned, I also wish to inform this house, although I'm not a member of council from South Sudan members, that the airspace of South Sudan has now been controlled by the government of South Sudan. And this, the lower space, which is 254, is currently under the control of the Civil Aviation Authority of the Republic of South Sudan. And within time, the country has signed an agreement with the NAFPAS. And NAFPAS is at the stage of finalizing the upper space of the airspace of South Sudan. So this is something that the committee should take into consideration and make the necessary amendment where it is needed. Right, Honorable Speaker, I also want to bring in the issue of regular accidents or crashes that happen. Indeed, the report highlighted that there are a lot of manuals developed by Kasawa in order for them to kind of give capacity to the civil aviation authorities of our member states. But Right Honorable Speaker, there are numerous crashes, especially in the Republic of South Sudan, that happens on a daily basis. Last week alone, 2 aircrafts crashed, although there's no casualty reported. This indicates that Kasawa needs to do a lot as far as its mandate is concerned, especially in terms of licensing. I've read in the report that they do licensing and accreditation of aircrafts. But then if this is what is happening, why is it that is only happening maybe probably in other partner states, but not extended to all 6 partner states of the community? So it is important that Kasawa takes that into consideration. Right, Honorable Speaker, it's also important that sometimes when we debate reports of committees where an activity is undertaken at a particular institution, that institution should be present so that they listen to their own report and see how the committee's recommendations, including that of the council, could help them kind of improve in their future work. I thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you so much. Before I forget, I think if the Office of the Clerk can always remind me on the upcoming business, we can always invite those institutions to be here when we are debating the reports. Yeah. So please, Office of the Clerk, take note. Before you place the report on the order paper, let me know in good time so that we can invite those institutions responsible to attend the proceedings. Honorable Claude.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. I want to first declare that I'm a member of this Committee on Accounts, and I participated in this oversight activity. Honorable Speaker, there are many issues around this problem of expensive air tickets in the region. And most of them, they are related to the issue of liberalizing airspace. And this issue was supposed to be no longer a problem because according to the Yamoussoukro agreement, countries agreed to liberalize airspace to the 5th freedom of airspace. But up to now, you find that some countries don't implement the decisions and the provisions embedded in this agreement of Yamoussoukro. After independence of African countries wanted to integrate more. Actually, they wanted it to be one country, have one African country. They wanted also as well to integrate the airspace. That is why in 1988, there was this declaration on liberalizing airspace, and it was adopted in 1999 by the ministers in charge of civil aviation. And 2000, heads of state also adopted this declaration. And in 2002, it became binding, which means now we are in implementation stage. But you find that the provisions under this agreement, they are not implemented. To give an example, the 5th freedom, normally the airspace has 9 freedoms. Then the ninth airspace freedom, it talks about the foreign carriers being able to do domestic flights, like for example, having a jumbo jet or any other flight, any other airline like Kenya Airways, be able to carry passengers from Kilimanjaro to Zanzibar and from Zanzibar to Kilimanjaro to Arusha. But this is not the case. It is not yet happening. But the 5th freedom, which is in this agreement of Yamoussoukro, it is all about allowing non-national carriers to land in a state, picking passengers, going to a third country. Like for example, if Rwanda Air in this 5th freedom will be allowed to take passengers from Kilimanjaro and take them to Nairobi without going back to Kigali. But you find out that this is not the case. I think we have not yet reached there. And now, East African community, we have attained the level of being a customs union, which means our borders are supposed to be one single customs union and what. All those ones would have allowed us to liberalize fully airspace. But still, we are having challenges, and this is also affecting the cost of air ticket in the region. This oversight function, we wanted to know what would be the recommendation to solve this problem, and what are also the reasons why we are having this issue. And we found out that, Honorable Speaker, when you look at some of the issues that we have, there is the issue of paying for air navigation services, not air navigation fees, whereby when a flight, an aircraft passes over a particular country in the region, has to pay some amount of US dollars, and they are also not even the same. You find in some countries they are low, in other countries they are high, so they are not even harmonized. It is also affecting the total, because the operating cost, it is paid by, it has to be recouped by the money paid, or the price paid by the passengers themselves. That is when we were interacting with the Kasawa staff, they informed the committee that there is an issue called, or there is a term which is used. There's a technical term which they call a break-even point. They say for the most efficient airlines, the study has shown, the study of ICAO has shown that when in a flight, there are less than 78 passengers, according to the capacity of the airplane. When it is carrying less than 78 passengers, it is making loss. And in addition to that, those are for most efficient airlines. But for us, we are not even to that level. But when you look at the airlines in the region, you find that some of them, they are carrying even less than 30%. Sometimes they are never full. You can find that the business class is full sometimes, but the economy class is not full. It's less than 30%. And what can we do? In this report on page 13, we are recommending that in the region we should have simulators, flight simulators, so to allow East African airlines to train and certify pilots within the region. But is this feasible? The research also shows that for these simulators to make economic sense, to be profitable, you must have 23 up to at least 23 to 25 aircrafts of the same type. If, for example, one airline is flying Boeing, other ones are flying Bombardiers, so you cannot have the same simulators. So every type of aircrafts must have their own simulators. So now, when you look at the page where we are listing, we are giving in this report, we are giving the details of airplanes, the types of airplanes we have in this region. On page 23 and 22, you find that you cannot find in the region, combining all airlines are operating here in the region, you will not find a total of 23 or 25 aircrafts of the same type, which means having these simulators in the region will not be, it is not making sense economically. It is not profitable. And in this report, we are also recommending and urging Council of Ministers to advise partner states, to guide the partner states to look at having at least similar aircrafts, so that it can also ease the sharing of cost of maintenance and other operating costs related to airplanes. Honorable Speaker, I want to conclude by saying that this Kasawa, they informed us that we are now airlines in EAC. They are paying for insurance of their aircrafts outside the region, for the companies which are outside the region. We don't have our own insurance, or our own insurances, insurance companies in the region. They don't have capacity to insure our aircrafts we have in the region. So they pay money to the outside companies. And they also informed the committee that when ICAO does audit the airspaces of partner states, and the performance is low, which means they declare that the report comes out to say that the airspace is not safe or secure, it means it will also affect the price of the insurance cost. It will go high. When the airspace is not safe or secure, the insurance cost will go high. So in this region, we also need to urge Council of Ministers to always make sure that they help Kasawa to assist civil aviation authorities in the partner states to always adhere to the regulations and the standards of ICAO. I want to submit that on the speaker and support the report.
Thank you so much, Honorable Kurudi. Honorable Gashinzigo.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. Let me also take this opportunity to welcome our Honorable Minister from Kenya as a new member of this assembly. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to declare that I'm a member of this committee, and I will be very brief as I support this report. Right Honorable Speaker, mine was to once again insist on the issue of pandemics and emergencies happening in our member states. Right Honorable Speaker, most of the challenges we were informed by the Kasawa because the time we visited this institution, it was during COVID period, and it is obvious that from their report, there were no any mitigating measures which have been put in place by the EAC. Right Honorable Speaker, this is very serious because this institution is not like any other institutions which you can postpone its activities for some time during emergency or during a pandemic, as we experienced this problem of COVID-19. Right Honorable Speaker, mine was to once again request the Council of Ministers to make sure that when we have pandemic, when we have emergency, we have already put in place some mitigating measures and programs and strategies to make sure that whenever we have these challenges, does not affect important institutions like Kasawa, which deals with the safety and security of our people, because the airlines continue to operate, but you find that there were no trainings, there were no certificates provided, licenses, which are very important. And as you have listened through this report, the pilots need to go through different trainings periodically to make sure that the safety and security are taken into consideration. Right Honorable Speaker, I know very well this is not easy for the partner states, especially the COVID-19 challenges, but at the same time, when you measure the risk, it's more than if we could have been having the measures or the strategy in place. Another point, Right Honorable Speaker, is just for the matter of putting emphasis on it, is the importance of having an open skies and open space for our air transport as we move towards having one airline of East Africa. But there are other measures which we need really to implement and which have been highlighted into many sectoral councils resolutions. And we feel that this is the high time that these proposals by the sectoral councils and also other programs in place should be put into implementation so that we can improve the air transportation within our community to make sure that the trade, we improve in trade and therefore improve the well-being of our citizens. Lastly, Right Honorable Speaker, I want to once again say that this is one of the institutions which is doing its work effectively. I have been in the accounts committee for some time now. The audit we do in this institution, we find that they are doing their work properly, and I want to encourage them to continue doing their work properly. And I want to support the report and say that if these recommendations are going to be put into implementation, then we are going to take another step forward. I take this opportunity to submit, and thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you so much, Honorable Gasenzi Oda. Honorable Engineer Mnya, then Honorable Ambassador Fatuma Getted.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I also stand here to add my voice on this new report, this account report. And first of all, I recommend the chair of this committee for this good and wonderful report, which has given us the detail of what is happening in Kasawa and in particular of the civil aviation in East Africa. Secondly, Right Honourable Speaker, let me join my colleague also to congratulate the Minister, Chair Minister, who has been sworn in today here, and is welcome. Mr. Speaker, I am a member of this committee, and actually I have also contributed a lot in this report. That means I stand here just to give some highlights and insist on some paragraphs of what is happening actually for some more detail. Number one, if, Mr. Speaker, we come to Article 92, which has established this is Kasawa, and let me read, I quote, "The partner states shall harmonize their policies on civil aviation to promote the development of safe, reliable, efficient, and economically viable," I insist on this, economically viable civil aviation with a view to develop appropriate infrastructure, aeronautical skill and technology, as well as the role of aviation in support of other economic activities. If you read this article of the treaty properly, and if you also together read the protocol which for the establishment of this civil aviation or Kasawa, then you will find out that something happening in East Africa is something wrong. Today, Mr. Speaker, in Tanzania, we have Air Tanzania, you have Uganda Airways, you have Rwanda Airways, Kenya Airways, they are all different. The type, the Kasawa is there to advise the partner state, as I've read in the protocol, and in Article 4, 5, and 6 of protocol, which established this Kasawa, you will find out that partner state, they are really not taking pure advice from Kasawa. And if they were taking advice from Kasawa, what is going on today, it would not happen like that. Mr. Speaker, when you find this table 3, page 19, passenger fees, the charges, actually the difference is not so big. The variation is very little. But when you come to table 4 on the en route charges, the difference is enormous, so big difference. So if the advice from Kasawa was really being worked out properly in all partner states, there was no need of having these big differences. You can find out in table 4 that en route charges, if the Republic of Burundi is on 53, Republic of Kenya is 219, Republic of Tanzania 140. The difference is so big. It should not happen like that. So when you are shouting that the ticket from Kenya to Nairobi to Dar es Salaam is so expensive than the ticket from Dar es Salaam to Dubai, is because of these differences. We have 18 overhead charges for every ticket, 18, from landing, from noise, from parking, from, I mean, a lot of things. Even follow me. I don't know if it is.
What is this follow me?
Follow me is when the flight is landing, where you can see somebody taking some piece of stick, doing like this, staying somewhere. That is follow me, which is today in the world is done in is computerized system from the control tower. Everything is done there, but still we are having a charge for follow me, follow me, follow. This is, Mr. Speaker, is is something which which I don't agree. So, Mr. Speaker, actually, we have a problem of following our protocols. Just like what is happening in a common market protocol, to date, Article 24 is not formed with no reason. And also in this protocol for establishment of Kasawa, there are a lot of articles which are not fulfilled as it was required for the establishment of Kasawa. That difference is so big. So in this juncture, Mr. Speaker, it's just to, if you continue another arguing council ministers, really to find the way to follow the article or the treaty and this protocol which we have established ourselves for the good of this East African community. Mr. Speaker, if it will please the council minister also, I don't see the reason why there is Kenya Airways, there is Uganda Airways, there is Air Tanzania. Why, if we are all in East Africa, why can't you write East African Community, Kenya Airways, East African Community, Burundi Airways, East African Community, Rwanda Airways? That will be at least the way of showing of unity, that despite that this flight it belongs to Tanzania, belongs to Kenya, but it's within East Africa. Just like our passport, East African Community, but the passport is issued from Rwanda. East African Community, Uganda passport. Why we should not do that? In order that, where are we heading? We are heading to federation. This is at least the sign to show that we are going to have this thing. At the moment, everybody has got his own airline or her own airline, but eventually we are going to a federation. Mr. Speaker, with those few remarks, I support the report. Thank you.
Yes, those are very important proposals, by the way. Can you recall the feeling you have when you are attending a function and the anthem of East Africa is played? Even when it is a domestic function. It's not a community function, but a domestic function, and the anthem is played. How do you feel normally? Yes. Yeah, so I think in his humorous way, what he's saying is very important. Yes. Honorable Ambassador Fatuma.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. At the outset, I would like to start by congratulating Honorable Maina, the council member from the Republic of Kenya, who will be mandated to follow up on East African Community, and also congratulate the Republic of Kenya for having appointed a lady. And now today we have 3 strong women as council members in East African Community. We hope the trend will follow for all institutions and organs of the community.
And we hope our own ladies will take the opportunity to persuade the council on many pending issues.
In
So
fact, I
take
would like to-
advantage of that numerical strength.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. In fact, you are provoking us as a Eala Women Caucus. We want to invite all our ministers, female ministers, and they have to know that they have a special status in our caucus, so that you can share your wisdom, but also use your strength to help us engender the community. Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, I also want to take this opportunity to congratulate the Committee of Accounts and its chair, but also my brother for having read the report. And I want to say that this is a very, very important activity that we have to commend the committee, because in our oversight mandate as Eala, specifically, they are following up on the implementation of the findings and recommendations of the audit commission reports. And this is important for accountability. But specifically also know that this sector of aviation is an important sector for our community, for Africa, but also regionally. And that's why at the African level, they've even reached a stage of coming up with a single African air transport as a flagship program. So if we want really to liberalize the African space so that we can be able to attain African Union 2063 agenda, but also boost our intra-Africa trade. And also, as we have now all, as East Africans joined the African Continental Free Trade Area, there is no way we can be able to attain that huge market of over 1 billion people if we do not harmonize and integrate our airlines. So again, as already noted, we have a treaty obligation, Article 92 of the treaty, that demands partner states to harmonize our policies with regard to safety of civil aviation, with regard to reliability, to be able to be efficient, but most important, to be economic viable. If we are in for transport, if we are in for business, and business has to be profitable, and we continue to do business as usual, fragmenting our markets, everyone competing, but competing in a way that is not illogical. Because really, if the entire world, you've been traveling to other international airlines, if you go to KLM, they have cooperation with Air France, they are cooperating with other airlines. And these are airlines that have been in space for over 100 years. So if they can cooperate, how can we survive as a region when everyone is doing their own business, promoting their airlines, fighting for the same market? So the only option for our survival as a region is to collaborate, is to cooperate, is to integrate our airlines. It might take time to have the East African airlines, because of course there are also lessons learned from the failure of the former East African community. But I think we can do it progressively, such that we come up with partnerships, and as we build trust and also see how it works, we can go to another level. So I really want to urge the council to look critically at the recommendations and observations of the committee, especially on developing a policy on cooperation among airlines. Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, there has been mentioned the issue of high costs in terms of purchasing of air tickets. This issue, we know, does not only affect passengers who are traveling on the airline, but it's also affecting many other sectors. Recently in agriculture, we're engaging stakeholders in our partner states on the impact of COVID on hospitality and tourism. And this issue of the cost of transport, the cost of ticket was highlighted. We are told that one requires at least to pay about $700 to travel in the region, plus even now the COVID fees that have added. So you can imagine, even in terms of attracting tourists, it will be very difficult to attract tourists when the costs are so high. So I think this is an issue that needs to be looked into. Maybe there could be other factors beyond our control, but at least what we can do as a community, we need to work on it. Because nowadays, air transport is no longer a luxury. It is some of the only options and necessity for us to travel, especially as we know that some countries, because of COVID, have opened their land, have closed their land borders. So you find that air transport becomes the only option. So if we do not open up and also reduce on the cost of travel, it will again constrain the implementation of the common market protocol, especially with regard to movement of people and goods, but it will also constrain doing business in the region. So I really want to encourage the Council of Ministers to look into this issue, but also the issue of contributing to the recovery of the aviation sector, because as we know, aviation is one of the hittest sectors because of COVID-19. I know some countries have started coming up with recovery plans, but East Africa, I think, has also developed a program on recovery. So hopefully there will be substantial amount that will go into aviation, and also Kasawa, that is in charge of day-to-day coordination. So with that, I want to once again thank the committee for a very good activity and encourage our ministers to take this report seriously, implement our recommendation, so that in the next few years, we shall not be alarming at the performance of this sector, but rather it will be one of the profitable businesses in our region. I submit, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Fatuma. Yes, Honorable Fatuma Ibrahim, Honorable Francoise, Honorable Rose, Mary, and Honorable Rose. Honorable Dongo, finally, later.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, in allowing me this opportunity to contribute to the report. Honorable Speaker, first and foremost, I want to congratulate the committee for sharing with us on producing this report as an oversight on the status of institutional development of Kasawa and the legal enforcement of safety, harmonization of air transport policies, and civil aviation rules and regulations. Chair, Honorable Speaker, I want to confirm that this report is very well done. It clearly gives us a good picture of the status of this oversight activity. Honorable Speaker, I also want to congratulate my sister, Honorable Waziri Betty Maina, for being honored with the second position of a ministerial post in Kenya. She has been appointed the acting minister for East Africa Community and Regional Development, and also on top of her substantive ministerial position as a minister for industrialization and enterprise development. I think our president has a lot of confidence in women, and we want to appreciate him in appointing her. Honorable Speaker, one thing I realized in this report is Kasawa has been given monies from partner state of about 83%. And when you read the report, it clearly says declining monies for Kasawa. When I read this report and other reports, this is the first institution that I have seen has received partner state contribution more than 50%. So Chair, I think we need to appreciate our partner states towards contributing 83% with a shortfall of 17%. And I think that is a clear indication of the commitment of our partner states in contributing and finding it that is the most important institution. Because the other institution, we had an oversight, they were even less than 50%. So I think we need to amend this report and congratulate the partner states in contributing to this huge amount of money. Honorable Speaker, the other issue I also found is the achievement of Kasawa. Kasawa has done great work. When you look at it, it has complied with all international, regional, and other commitments. If you look at the achievement on page 5, not page 6, it clearly says Kasawa has implemented all the international obligations and requirements. And Kasawa has been singled out as the best institution that complies with the international requirements as in Africa, not just in East Africa. So I think we need to congratulate Kasawa for the good performance of its mandate. Honorable Speaker, the other issue which has been raised a lot is the issue of the air tickets and the expenses that are part of that expenses. Honorable Speaker, if you look at that page 18, and especially the cost of ticket and passenger paid taxes and fees, I find that East Africa is on the highest side, very high, extremely high, that I don't know where that charges was based on. When you compare it with Europe, passengers are charged, no, East African are charged 64 US dollars in average amount paid of taxes. And it is estimated that 43% of air ticket prices in East Africa comprise of regulatory charges, taxes, landing, parking rates, with regulatory fees accounting up to 24%. I don't know whether that is an extremely high amount. When you go to Europe, within the report on page 19, passengers are charged $30.3, while in Middle East they are charged 29.65. I think it's extremely too high, and this clearly shows that it's expensive to fly to East Africa community, and it's hard for even tourists and other investors to travel to this country because of such a high cost. And this also locks out East Africans for local tourism, because sometimes we only focus on international tourists, but we're locking out more our domestic tourists to travel to our region. And I really plead with the council members to look at this particular item to allow East Africans to enjoy traveling by air, even the lowest level of our society, to test how to fly and take pride of flying. Honorable Speaker, the other thing I found extremely funny, and I don't know whether it's an error, is Depol 4, where it says en route charges. And when you look at it, the Republic of Burundi is $53, and I think this is US dollars, and says Republic of Kenya 219.71. Rwanda, Republic of Rwanda, $100. Of course, Sudan is not in these statistics, and I think it needs to be in this statistic because any report we get, the Republic of South Sudan is either unreported or no data, or it's not even included in the list. So I think council members, you must do something to change this trend. It's not a good trend, it's not an appealing reports on Republic of South Sudan. The United Republic of Tanzania is 140, depends on flights per day. I mean, I don't understand that here, Honorable Speaker. Could be more flights, it can go up to 300 or 200. Could be the committee need to clarify. And the Republic of Uganda, 125. And I wanted to ask from the committee, why is Kenya's en route charges extremely high? It's almost 50% more than 50% more from other partner states. I don't know what is so special. Is it the advancement of Kenya, or their planes are too advanced, or the charges are too high? I just wanted to understand. It's not comprehensible in my view. Honorable Speaker, when you look at the general observation, I think we need to appreciate our partner states who are making good progress. And if we don't take a tradition to acknowledge and appreciate partner states that are performing, then we might not motivate others to aspire to that position. Honorable Speaker, on Roman 5 is Center for Aviation and Medicine. This is supposed to be a flagship signature center, not only for East Africa, but also for Africa. And I was thinking this is an extremely area that the East Africa community should invest in, so that we are the icon of Africa in terms of this particular item, so that we are also in the map as East Africans to do great work. Our partner states should also, I wish to urge the council members who are here and who are hearing us and connecting us through virtual connection to take this as an important matter, so that East Africa community becomes the pioneer in this item, and to become the center of civil aviation for the Horn of Africa, of Africa. Honorable Speaker, I want to acknowledge and appreciate the Republic of Rwanda and the Republic of Kenya for their good work in terms of supporting this work, and in particular Kenya in providing space of 4 acres. 4 acres is a huge chunk of land, which it has donated to near the prime area around Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, and putting up offices and training center for the Center for Aviation Medicine. And I think we need to appreciate Kenya as a country to boost this kind of work, and urge other partner states could be to contribute money. Honorable Speaker, I think as a council is hearing us, the issue of the Republic of South Sudan must be incorporated into this. And I think when your new partner state is joining, and now we're having a new baby, which is the DRC, I expected the Republic of South Sudan to be at least at the middle level where it has picked, institutions have been created, systems have been created, and all the necessary requirements as a primary concern, focus for any institution, that any partner state that is joined. It looks like the Republic of South Sudan has not been sufficiently supported by the Secretariat. And in terms of the necessary resources, it seems that the only thing which is viable and is becoming more lucrative is the capacity building in the previous report. Honorable Speaker, I want to urge members of the council to take the Republic of South Sudan to be considered again for more resources, for more support, so that their level of integration is enhanced. And I want to appeal to the ministers to make a special consideration for the Republic of South Sudan, since even DRC is joining, and the Republic of South Sudan is not at par with the other partner states. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Let me finish this side. Honorable Dongo. Proceed. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I would like to, from the onset, to thank the committee for a very good job done. Right Honorable Speaker, it's days like this that I get excited. I think that for the so many years that we have been working as an assembly, one of the most beautiful parts of our work is actually oversight. And if you read our reports, our oversight reports, really find that a huge part of the work that this assembly does is to highlight the issues, the challenges, the prospects, the great work that this community does. And how I wish that in one of those exceptional cases, we have Council of Ministers taking a tour, joint tour of the institutions of the community to appreciate just what goes on in these institutions. There's a lot of work that goes on in these institutions that sometimes goes unnoticed until maybe when our committees of parliament go for oversight. And I also find that it's one of the best ways that council can actually directly interact with these institutions to appreciate firsthand what goes on there, so that when we as members of parliament report, the interaction between us and council is very productive and very constructive. I have been here for the last 4 years and I've not had a time when I've read that actually council has gone around to these institutions, and it would be a very good practice if for some. So I'm requesting through the Right Honorable Rebecca Kadaga here to implore her colleagues that they could also find time during their work to actually jointly move to these institutions. Right Honorable Speaker, the report highlights some of the challenges that we face. I remember when we had an interaction with the director of Kasawa, and we had floated the idea, actually during our discussions, we had floated the idea of the East African Airways. He told us it's a very emotional issue, it's a perfect proposal, except that it has technical challenges. The aviation industry, as is rightfully pointed out in this report, is one of the most highly regulated industries. And because of our jurisdiction issues, remember we are still operating as a sovereign partner states. It's not easy to collapse all the other airlines into a single airline, because each one of us is running its own airspace within its jurisdiction as a partner state. So as it is right now, that can remain a wish, but there is a way to go about it, in my opinion. If we have done it with passports, what's wrong with us doing it with the airways? At least, if not substantially, but at least symbolically. There is the power in the symbolism. If you carry an East African passport, you have the East African passport, but on it, it is written Kenya, it is written Uganda, it is written Tanzania. It recognizes our sovereign authorities, but it also does recognize that we are part of the East African community. That kind of conversation can still take place in the aviation industry. Just last year, I listened to His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta, and he was talking about Kenya Airways. And he pointed out that Kenya Airways is in advanced stages of discussions with South African Airlines for a potential merger. And he said the merger between Kenya Airways and the South African Airways is going to be a game changer in the aviation industry in the region. I thought that was a vote of no confidence in our own capacity as a region to build a robust airline industry. Why don't we begin to have conversations around building a common infrastructure to support our aviation industry? The Honorable Jean Claude here pointed out clearly that, you know, it's becoming very expensive, from the report as well, to run airlines as individual partner states, because each partner state is procuring their carriers from different from different countries, and you are using different technologies. But assuming there is a convergence of ideas around procurement, so that you procure from the same company and therefore have the same facility for maintenance, you reduce significantly on the cost, and therefore you'd also be reducing significantly on the cost of air ticketing. So we need to have that kind of conversation. But to do this, Right Honorable Speaker, EAC needs to take courage. I think there is one thing that we have not invested so much in, and the political elite need to do it. It's investing in the courage to appreciate that we are now in the East African community, and once we are here, it's a give and take relationship. That you cannot talk about integration without giving and taking. As long as the mentality is that of what is best for me in the short term, it's going to be difficult for us to begin to have conversations about regional integration, how we can have a single airline, how we can have, you know, a single railways, and so on and so forth. We need to understand that the bigger picture, and I like it when the Honorable Maina said here that we need to focus on the big picture. The big picture argument here in the EAC is that we have to understand that our integration is much more beneficial in the long term, and we need to invest in it. Right, Honorable Speaker, I beg to submit.
Thank you so much, Honorable Dongo. Honorable Francois.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. I first and foremost submit my warm welcome to the Honorable Minister from Kenya, Honorable Betty Maina, for her commitment and her part to this House already, because I acknowledge that last time he was with us, even if he was not sworn in, she took part to the meeting of this assembly online. And I remember that when I was talking, I just welcomed also her presence, even if she was not sworn in. Mr. Speaker, it's clear that this report of Accounts Committee is using technical terminologies for the non-committee members to understand, but at the same time, I thank and commend the honorable members that have spoken before me, and also highlighted that I like to support it because it is rich, it's informative report. On the onset, Mr. Speaker, as we are just talking about our oversight activity, allow me also to commend the EAC Secretary General that at the same time is also calling on African leaders to implement agreements to lower African air transport costs. And this during the meeting that happened on 28th, just 2 days back. So it's good when we are working in synergy as the bloc, as EAC, to make sure the assembly is working together with the secretariat, partner states, all the efforts joint so that we can push the agenda forward. And having said that, I immediately go to page 9 of the report because I would like also to commend the great achievements registered by Kasawa as EAC institution. I'm not going to read it through, but Mr. Speaker, allow me to just reiterate the beginning of each paragraph. Developed the model of EAC primary civil aviation legislation, developed the model of EAC regulations for adoption and promulgation, developed the model of EAC technical guidance materials for adoption, marked improvement amongst partner states on effective implementation of safety, actively contributing to regional and global initiatives, pooling of resources such as sharing of inspectors, harmonized regulatory framework, enhanced capacity building among partner states, harmonized regional roadmap, sustained stakeholders engagement at regional and global levels, and among others. Mr. Speaker, I would like to commend the efforts of Kasawa for these great achievements, but also register kind of my disappointment in terms of the sustainable efforts towards the implementation of its goals and also strategic plan. As we can have this on the following pages. But also, I'm also glad to report that gender parity being 50-50% with 80 female and 11 male. So this can be a good basis or foundation for this institution to work successfully if we compare to other blocks. But because we know if we work together with gender equality, so we can expedite the agenda of our goals. So Kasawa is not part of also the budget, the EAC budget, as we call it, the kitchen book. So I'm also talking about achievements and also disappointment in terms of budgetary, I may say, inclusion, because Kasawa has got what we call financial autonomy. If Kasawa has got financial autonomy, and we are reading under challenges that Kasawa has got inability to implement annual operations plan and disruption of activities to meet the strategic objectives set out in the Kasawa third strategic plan. This is really, I may say, disappointing, and also declined oversight capabilities as it used to be, and also unable to meet the strategic objectives set out in the Kasawa third strategy. That one I have already mentioned. Mr. Speaker, as we commend the partner state for their contribution towards Kasawa achievement to make it an active institution, also the report is saying that Kasawa contribution under partner states commitment is now redundant, if I can say that. And the reasons advanced are due to COVID-19 outbreak impact. And also this being even further worse, I may say the impasse or challenge we are given is that under this challenge, 5.8 last bullet, the report is saying the uncertainty of the recovery trend due to persistent emerging or reoccurring of various coronavirus variants at global magnitude. I'm talking about this because there is one recommendation on page 11 about this, that the committee recommends to the Assembly to urge the Council of Ministers to ensure that Kasawa explores other avenues of raising revenues such as soliciting development partner support fund the agency's activities. You know, we have been recommending this, but with our own uncertainties, because we can't know, given that COVID-19 was declared a pandemic. Being a pandemic, it affects, people globally. So we can't be sure that these partners or donors are also able to keep, supporting our organs and institutions. Mr. Speaker, I then recommend kind of an adjustment to this recommendation to make sure Kasawa is supported. I suggest the committee to add on this, that the Council of Ministers considers Kasawa in its alternative funding mechanisms and also expedite this process. Otherwise, we can't be sure about this uncertainty of donor funding, and we are also encouraging partner states to be self-reliant in terms of budgetary allocation. Mr. Speaker, also page 18 also attracted my attention. 7.1. These are the factors affecting the cost of air tickets in the EAC. And I was wondering why they added an international economic regulations for air transport. Yet I can't see factors affecting the international economic regulations for air transport. We're just talking of Kasawa and related issues. So maybe the committee will look at this and see if they are really talking of international economic regulations. Having said that, also I would like to say that Africa, as it is reported here, that according to the World Bank report on mobility and the transport connectivity series, policy note that in Africa, due to high operating cost and the credit constraint environment, Africa is constantly under the burden of debt. So Africa is not poor really. But Mr. Speaker, when we are talking at the region level block, we consider the entire Africa and how we can support each other. And as I also started with the SG, calling upon all the African leaders. Africa is not poor, but if we look at our wealth and the resources, we can see that we can support each other and use what we can have as means to support each other. Mr. Speaker, on page 19, the harmonization of the rates and the formulas in the EAC will bring more transparency and lead to a reduction to the ticket cost for EAC members. I concur with this observation of the committee, and also take this opportunity as I wind up. Yes, I'm concluding, Mr. Speaker. Let me winding up by saying that in Europe, passengers are charged $30.23 in Europe, whereas we have got a table here, table 3 at the EAC level, which is not even harmonized. I want to repeat what my colleagues have said, but we need to look at it and also urge the Council of Ministers to make sure these costs are harmonized. And also we have airplanes labeled EAC as were mentioned by Honorable Odongo, because EAC passport, EAC, space, airline, everything EAC, because we are one block, one community, one destiny. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Francois. Honorable Mary. I don't know how we can always phrase this. Africa is not poor. Is it not poor? I think you mean that it has resources, but are people not poor? Huh? Yeah, okay, it's a discussion for another day. You can be resource rich but poor.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me also start by welcoming and congratulating the new council member from Kenya on assuming this important office. We wish you good deliberations in your work at the EAC. Mr. Speaker, I would also want to congratulate the committee on a good report, very easy to follow and well presented. I am happy that about 4 years down the road, Kasawa is being rated highly in performance. Because I remember when we had just taken up our offices as Eala legislators, we had a tour of all the institutions of EAC in 2018. And I personally had the opportunity to visit Kasawa because of the team, the group that I was in. And vividly, you could see that Kasawa is on top of its work. So I'm proud, and I would like to put it on record that we are proud of Kasawa for the work that they are doing, and that they could be one of the best in the world. That's not very usual for African institutions, particularly in an area like aviation. So we congratulate Kasawa on that, and we wish them well and hope that they will continue to make us proud and to perform. This can be clearly seen on the achievements listed page 9, and then on page 7, the ongoing projects. You know, many institutions of EAC, we find that there is always an excuse that because of COVID, sometimes it's not an excuse actually, resources have reduced. Because of COVID, even donors have cut down and so on. But if you look at Kasawa, the ongoing projects as enumerated on page 7 are many. So congratulations indeed. Now, when it comes to the dangerous competition within or between our airlines, it is very vivid. And although it has been argued that it's not easy to merge the airlines, I think that where there is a will, there is a way. Because East African Airways once existed, what happened then that cannot happen now? I think if our council members, our leaders, our decision makers were really to put their minds to it, there would be a way in which we could complement each other and probably even merge into one airline. Let me give you an example of what is happening on the route between Kilimanjaro and Entebbe. I now fly those two airlines because of obvious reasons. They are direct flights, and that's convenient. They are both really carrying new aircrafts that are easy and comfortable to fly on. Now, these two airlines are flying on the same day, same route. The only difference is time. They fly on Sunday, on Tuesday, on Thursday, same day, like that. So you wonder. And sometimes, for example, if we finished our work on a Friday, on a Thursday, you would wish to go home on, say, a Friday. But both airlines have flown on Thursday. And on Friday, there is no flight. That is direct. That is really a clear example of dangerous competition that sometimes does not pay off. And sometimes, and many times, does not give good service to the people of East Africa and elsewhere, many tourists that we travel with that are accessing our regions today. In this way, I would like, first of all, to congratulate and thank Kenya for the magnanimity that it has shown in giving land for establishing this new institution that would help Kasawa and the region. And I would also like to call on Kenya once again to use the same magnanimity and give back the old East African infrastructure that belonged to the East African Airlines so that we have a beginning in establishing now the institution that collapsed, because it did exist and it had infrastructure.
But
That
Honorable Mayor,
infrastructure.
that will open a very dangerous Pandora's box. I think it's safer to sidestep that, because it will open a new debate, and the treaty resolved it. Of course, yeah, Honorable Mayor, I'm not suppressing your opinion, but yeah, there is that, there is more, there is more, there is more. So where we can end when we take that route.
Thank you. Thank you for your guidance, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, that's why I talked about the magnanimity of Kenya. It's an appeal, it is a request. And it has happened elsewhere. We know some institutions that have been given back that should have been.
The bank, for example.
For example, the bank, the East African Development Bank, which have been owned by Uganda, is now back to the hands of East African community. So there are some examples, and we could find them. It is a request. When you request, you are really not making a crime. It is an idea, and based on the fact that Kenya is giving the East African community. Mr. Speaker, regarding the competition, I think it is good actually that we have many airlines flying. And so the cost of flying within the region has actually gone down. That aspect we should look at also. For example, Kenya Airways was charging really a lot of money. Now the price even within the Kenya Airways itself is coming down because it's competing with 3 other airlines in the air routes that are available. However, if we came together, then we'll be able to stand together and compete with the world in these areas and reduce the cost of flying further. I mean, there are areas where you find that between Europe, for example, and North America, you are paying less than $300 on an economy ticket, and those are many miles. How have they done it? Because certain aspects and rearrangements have been considered. There is competition. And so I hope, and I'm not really being pessimistic here, that with time, we will also reorganize ourselves and we will get there. Thank you, Mr. Speaker and the committee. I beg to support the report.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mayor. Honorable Rose, then Honorable Dr. Makame.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity to contribute to this very important report by the Committee on Accounts. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to join colleagues in first of all thanking the Republic of Kenya for giving us a replacement for our minister and the member of council, Honorable Betty Maina. I want to thank the Republic of Kenya and the Honorable Minister as well. Right Honorable Speaker, I also want to applaud the Committee on Accounts. I used to be a member. Though I migrated, but I may migrate back. It's a very powerful committee, and I would like to thank the members and their able chair for this very informative report. I also want to take this opportunity to thank the institution that they oversighted, and that is Kasawa. Right Honorable Speaker, this is an institution. I used to be a member of the Committee on Accounts. This is an institution that has not yet received a qualified report on their accounts. They have always had very clean books, and they are commended by members here. Their performance has always been very, very good, and would like to encourage them to continue with that spirit of being a very good performers, especially in this highly regulated industry of civil aviation. Right Honorable Speaker, on the report, page 24, at the base is quoted Article 38 of the Protocol for the establishment of EAC, and that is the EAC Common Market Protocol, which provides for coordinated and harmonized approaches on transport policies to provide for adequate, reliable, safe, and internationally competitive transport infrastructure modes and services for the development and consolidation of the common market. Right Honorable Speaker, we are rated as one of the best performing RECs in Africa. Indeed, our performance has been, I want to say, is good and commendable, because right from the outset, I think this community set out clearly what it wanted to achieve through an East African federation. And in order to achieve that, 4 pillars were set: the Common Market Protocol, the Customs Union, and now we are going to the Monetary Union, and then, of course, ultimately the Political Federation. Right Honorable Speaker, we have many challenges. As much as today our minister has ably laid on table the 3 very important bills which were required in order to conclude the provisions that were required for the implementation of the monetary union, we still have issues to do with the implementation of these 2 other protocols that have been concluded. Indeed, when you go through the articles and provisions in those protocols, you find that there is still a lot lacking, and that's why we have a lot of NTBs as a result. So, Right Honorable Speaker, I just want to appeal to our Council of Ministers to review for themselves, to review these protocols, which are already concluded, and see where the problem is. What is the problem? Why are we not implementing the provisions of these protocols? And some of them are very important, like this article we're discussing here today, Right Honorable Speaker. So we need to find what is it that we're not doing right in order to actualize the requirements of these protocols. So that is one of the issues I really want the Council of Ministers to delve into. Right Honorable Speaker, the issue of, on page 22, the committee has been very clear, page 22 and 23, on the costs of airfares here in the region. And now, in addition to that, we also have the COVID testing. I think it is now a bit better, but it used to be terrible that you test before you travel, 2 days before, then a day to travel, maybe is it 48 hours? Then again, when you arrive in the country where you are destined to go, you are still tested. It is very expensive, Right Honorable Speaker. At least with COVID-19, let there be some harmonization, because it affects even our tourism industry. The costs alone, the costs of travel, and even this COVID-19 testing. So with this kind of costs, we are actually killing our own baby, and that is tourism. Tourism, in fact, East Africa as a region is a tourism hub. And that is the niche you have to market. How do we market it when you have this kind of costs in terms of the airfare, and even when you land, these other costs? These are NTBs now we are creating for our own tourism industry. That should be, we should now be trying to complement by making sure whatever is in the way of tourism, we try to sort it out together as East African community. As mentioned by one of the members here who submitted, we have not even, in fact, was Honorable Fatuma, that we have not even looked into the local tourism industry, the domestic tourism. And in order to promote domestic tourism, we have to make the airfares affordable even to our communities. East Africans travel a lot, I want to say so. We travel a lot. When you look at the traffic out, traveling out of our airports, outside destinations on tourism, it's a big number. So there's need to take advantage of that and also make sure that our local tourism industry is taken advantage of by making the airfare a little bit cheaper. Thirdly, Right Honorable Speaker, the issue of the sustainable funding mechanism. That one has been an issue that has been ongoing for quite a number of years. And the Kasawa here is failing to implement some of its projects because of a lack of funding. So this is the challenge all institutions of this East African community have. And it's a high time really to come up with a decisive mechanism that can enable institutions to perform their work in order to actualize the key objectives for which this East African community was established. Right, Honorable Speaker. I want to commend, together with the colleagues, the Republic of Kenya for establishing the Center for Aviation Medicine, giving it land, rather, in order for this Center for Aviation Medicine to be established. Right, Honorable Speaker, Kasawa has advertised several times for a medical assessor. But each time they advertise, the salary is too low. So these people, this very efficient and very expert personnel refuse to take up the positions because the salary is low. They would rather work as consultants other than take up the salaries that we give. So that one also needs to be looked at. We have a lot of experienced personnel in the aviation industry. And again, I want to commend recently when there was this storm Eunice in the United Kingdom. We had one of our own East African, Madam Captain Ruth Karauri, who managed to land this big Boeing 787 without difficulty. And yet others were struggling, then even had the aborted landing again, go around to come. But these are the kind of expertise we have in the region in terms of the civil aviation industry. But the challenge is salary. How do you retain such expertise when we are not paying them what is the commensurate? And I'm sure soon we may get to know her, but this lady is patriotic, I hope. She's a patriotic Kenyan, she will remain there. Otherwise, she will be taken up by other airlines. She's given 4 times her salary. So, Right Honorable Speaker, it is very evident that we have very good opportunities and the personnel here in this East Africa, but we need to see what can be done in order to be on the mark as we promote our East African community. So, Right Honorable Speaker, as I conclude, I again want to commend this committee for the very precise report and informative, but also to request Council to get time. You know, we make these reports, these oversight reports have a lot of information. To request Council to have one extraordinary sitting. Perhaps they call it, it's called ordinary. just to look at our reports and the recommendations we make, and then see how to implement, because several times, this is not the first time some of these recommendations have come on this floor. Several times we make recommendations here, but implementation is the challenge. And sometimes you wonder whether the recommendations we make here are taken up. So that's the challenge you have, right, Honorable Speaker. So I want to end here and thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Dr. Makame, and then committee chair get ready to sum up the debate.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the floor to air my voice on this important report submitted by the Committee on Accounts. From the outset, Mr. Speaker, allow me to commend the committee for a very good and detailed report. And also allow me to join other members to congratulate the Council Chair for taking oath this afternoon, Honorable Betty Maina from the Republic of Kenya. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, there's an issue when the Honorable Kakoza was reading, there was an issue of numbering. I believe the committee will they will look into it and make necessary adjustments. And I'd like also not to repeat what other members have already said, but I must thank them, especially my sisters, Honorable Mary Mugenyi, Honorable Rosa Cole. They mentioned issues on tourism, and me being the chairperson of the Committee on Agriculture, Natural Resources and Tourism, then I have to commend them for speaking that, because they're taking the spirit forward. We have to look at the tourism sector very well. Thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, my contribution will just look at one aspect, and the aspect is it's concerning security. It's concerning commercial issues with regards to the Republic of South Sudan. If you look at page 16 of this report, it talks about the report of the Republic of South Sudan airspace. And the committee observed that the airspace of South Sudan is still being controlled by the Republic of Sudan, implying that in case...
But that has been corrected.
Yeah.
I think there is a member who gave us information. And I believe, Honorable Mukuria, you had the proper sources. Yeah? Yes, if it had come from the minister, we would have taken it to be authentic. But because it came from you, it is a useful information. Eh?
But Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, so Dr. Makame, have that in mind as you debate that line.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. But the issue about enabling the Republic of South Sudan or facilitating it to have its own civil aviation authority that will look into issues of commercial issues and issues of security. It's very important for the Republic of South Sudan and also for the region of ES. And that is why, Mr. Speaker, we always commend, and we are very concerned when we are missing a member from the Council from the Republic of South Sudan. So, Mr. Speaker, I just wanted to reiterate that here, just to show why, while we are debating some issue, as it may be seen as general, but it is also touching the interests of the Republic of South Sudan, and me being very passionate about the Republic of South Sudan, because I'd like it to be fully integrated as we are moving forward. My sister, Omuchiza, contributed that we would have liked the Republic of South Sudan to have advanced somewhere in the integration process as we are admitting the Democratic Republic of Congo. So, Mr. Speaker, that being said, we would really like to be with the member of the Republic of South Sudan tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. There is not going to be any special communication, but I believe this is public debate, and what we are saying is reported in the partner states. So I believe we shall have the council member from the Republic of South Sudan tomorrow.
Honorable Muhirwa. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity. I'm going to be very brief because much have been said by my colleagues who spoke before me. I would be repeating what others might have said. Let me only raise two things, but before going to my concerns, let me emphasize on the issue that Council, we always recommend in this House when reports are being tabled and debated, good and major recommendations are generated, but the question which comes back always is that Council, it's high time they put in place mechanisms on how various recommendations that we formulate here, how they will be implemented. Because we may debate and adopt good reports for the betterment of EAC citizens, but when recommendations are not implemented, really we are not doing justice to EAC people. That's number one. Number two, let me comment the activity that was done by the committee in charge of accounts. I recommend the members of this committee for the good job they did. And I did not see in the report the connectivity between Kasawa and domestic aviation. Across the EAC region, especially in Kenya, in the United Republic of Tanzania, in Uganda, there is heavy domestic aviation for commercial purposes, for tourism. I want to ask the members who went to Kasawa for this oversight activity to let us know how Kasawa is engaged in supporting this domestic aviation so that security and safety be a reality. Because as Honorable Ken said, in the Republic of South Sudan, recently there was crashes, 2 crashes, even if casualties were not reported, but this local aviation, they need technical support from Kasawa. So I need to understand what kind of linkage, what kind of collaboration between national authorities in aviation and the Kasawa. Because Kasawa, yes, they do marvelous issues, they do marvelous activity, and it's our pride as EAC citizens when you go and see the records on achievements. For sure, they have a good place. They are doing marvelous, tremendous job at international level. Because EAC aviation, as far as Kasawa is doing, we are really competing at international level. We have recorded positive achievements. So I wanted only to ask this kind of linkage, collaboration between Kasawa and local aviations. To end, the committee was performing this oversight activity at a regional level at Kasawa. But in my understanding, we needed to do another kind of oversight activity at various aviation companies in the EAC partner state to see if really they are in compliance with Kasawa recommendations. Because as far as security is concerned, we have to assess and see the kind of airplanes they were bringing in EAC, if they really, especially local ones, if we do respect measures, recommendations over Kasawa. It's high time we go across EAC partner states and we assess, we oversee what is happening in those various aviation companies to see if they are really in compliance with Kasawa recommendations. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Right. Thank you. Honorable Council Chair, I think it's time for you to respond to some of these issues.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker and honorable members. First, I want to begin by welcoming on behalf of Council, the Honorable Betty Maina, who is now the substantive chair of the council, now that she has taken oath. I look forward to working with her and to benefit from her tremendous experience, first as a member of the coordinating committee, as the Minister for Industrialization, and now as the Minister for East African Community. Let me also thank the Committee on Accounts for the very comprehensive and informative report on Kasawa and the transport and aviation regulations. Thank you so much. In response to the recommendations, I note the need to address the issue of automatic licensing, the need for us to meet our financial obligations. And maybe at this stage, I should just respond to what one of the members said. The community is constrained because 5 members are contributing, but they're supporting six members. I don't want to go deeply into that, but I think we need to note that the 5 are supporting all the 6. So the issue of contribution to partner states is very, very important. However, I want to just inform that the Council of Ministers has undertaken work on sustainable funding. However, during our last session, in the Ordinary Council, the Republic of Kenya requested for 2 months to make consultations on that issue. And I believe that they will be reporting soon. On harmonization of the fleet acquisition, as I indicated, Mr. Speaker, earlier, this is a matter that needs to be studied further, because in my view, it's not possible for all the countries to acquire 23 airlines, 23 airplanes. That's, to me, that has an effect on the consolidated fund. So we shall study it further so that we can understand the implications. On the issue of enforcement of safety regulations, we are going to take that up as a council. And then equally, the issue of the Kasawa having an alternative funding will be addressed by the council. But we want to applaud them for being the best on the African continent and also the second best in the world, and want to appeal to them to sustain the #1 position in the continent, but also work towards getting the #1 position in the world. And it's incumbent upon us to ensure that we assist in getting the necessary resources. On the issue of the aviation industry of Republic of South Sudan, I do welcome the information of the Member of Parliament. However, I will be requesting my colleague, the Minister for East African Community, to put this in writing to the Council of Ministers so that we can also report for a way forward. On the Center for Medical Aviation, I appreciate your concerns. However, the construction has been completed and it's expected that in the financial 2022-2023, it will actually be operationalized. The remaining funds will definitely be provided. Directive on charging mechanisms of taxation, the levies, etc., implementation of the Masukra Declaration. These are also going to be addressed with a view to ensuring that the partner states adhere to what was agreed earlier. Concerning the COVID-19 testing charges, I do agree with the committee. They present an additional barrier to travel within the region. Indeed, each of us, our countries, Mr. Speaker, are in breach of the Common Market Protocol by this act alone. Despite the pandemic, it becomes more expensive. For instance, if you're a student, if you're going to Ghana, you must find $100 for the COVID test. If you're coming to Tanzania, you must fork out $50 for the test. If you're in Uganda, you pay $30. So it is really a barrier, and but I just want to reiterate that in the last few months, the Council of Ministers has met over this issue, and we have agreed that a COVID test is valid for 72 hours. So do not agree to multiple testing. 72 hours. If the test is from a recognized laboratory, and all the partner states have a list of the laboratories which are accredited. Last night when I arrived,
there was an attempt to take me to checking, and I said no. I'm implementing the decision of the Council of Ministers, 72 hours. So please don't do multiple testing. Now, I found the report very interesting on the issue of branding our airlines. I think that this proposal that Kenya Airlines have the emblem of the ESC, the Air Uganda has the emblem, Air Rwanda has the emblem. I think it's an interesting proposal, which I think would be something we need to discuss and take up. It would be very good to show our unity and the progress of our integration. I also want to, I've read up already Kasawa. The Honorable Dongo has proposed that the Council of Ministers take a tour of the institution in the region. This is really necessary so that we have a better understanding, and shall take it up. The Honorable Akol has proposed that we review and take a look at the existing protocols, find out why they are or are not being implemented. I think we need to do that because it's now 20 years since the integration began. So we need to evaluate how far we have come. And then there was also a review of the work of the Assembly by the last contributor. We have taken note of those, and we shall be able to respond after the meetings. I just want to reiterate that going forward, we shall arrange to attend the council by rotation, and that will be. But I just appreciate the unexpected departure of our chair. Also disrupted our work, and but this will be rectified. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable. Honorable Chair, Honorable Karonzo.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I will try to be brief in the interest of time. But let me start off by saying I read a quote I was reading about Thomas Edison, who invented the light bulb. And he tried 1,000 times and failed. When he was asked about it, he said, I didn't fail 1,000 times. I just took 1,000 steps. So I strongly feel that on the issue of a regional airline, is very possible. We can learn from, we'll just consider them steps, our previous steps in the past. So let me start off by thanking, of course, my committee and Right Honorable Kakoza, who stood in for me at personal issues I was coming that delayed me. I also want to thank Honorable Kennedy Ayerson and to congratulate the Republic of South Sudan. We look forward to hearing from the minister to confirm your information. I want to thank Honorable John Claude, who clarified on the issue of Kasawa. And I can tell and confirm to this house, we may have a lot of powers, but directing our summit members on how to utilize the consolidated fund is not one of them. The intention of the committee was just to help Kasawa be self-sustaining and cure the issue of having to train our pilots and send them overseas. I want to thank Honorable Engineer Munya for his wonderful idea, which will help sensitize our East African members. Many still do not know what the EAC is. So I really hope the council can take up that proposal. I want to thank Honorable Order. I want to thank Honorable Ambassador Fatuma, who also suggested the idea of partnerships. I can confirm to this house that if you go to the European Union, there are many nations that do not have national carriers, but they are able to move and their citizens are able to move. So it's also a wonderful and novel idea. And I hope the council can also take it up. I want to thank Honorable Fatuma Ibrahim. I want to also thank Honorable George. I want to thank Honorable Francois, who also emphasized the issue of alternative financing. And just to clarify to the House, one of the issues we are really trying to solve is that if one leaves from Kenya today to go to Rwanda, which is not very far by flight, you have considered to have taken an international flight, which brings us to the problem and the substance of the report, which is what we're trying to solve. I also want to thank Honorable Mary, and I also liked her idea. I believe it can be looked at without opening too many issues. I believe the integration agenda requires sacrifice from all the current members as we continue to grow. I want to thank Honorable Rose, who also raised the serious issue of the salary scales, where we are unable to attract the talent we need to run these institutions, like the medical one mentioned in the report. I want to thank Honorable Makame, and I've noted the issue on numbering, which we take. And I want to thank Honorable Muhira, who was also concerned about Kasawa and the national institutions. And I can confirm to the House that what Kasawa does helps our partner states. In fact, when one of the member states was at risk of having their airspace suspended, it was through Kasawa that crisis was averted. And I want to thank the Right Honorable Rebecca for her statements, and also to welcome our new council chair. Council chair. And yes, and I want to just mention to the two Right Honorable Ministers that while they were away, their colleagues mentioned to us that they would look at having a special sitting where they look at the issues of implementation. And I welcome your remarks. My only prayer would be that you give us timelines on when some of these things can be done. I submit, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chair Kalonzo. Honorable members, I now wanted to put the question that the report of the Committee on Accounts on the oversight activity to assess the status of institutional development of Kasawa and the level of enforcement of safety, harmonization of civil air transport policies and the civil aviation rules and regulations in the region be adopted. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Honorable members, allow me now to thank the committee under the leadership of Honorable Kalonzo for this report that is indeed very well done. And most importantly, to thank Kasawa as a very good institution that is performing so well. So we have an elephant in the room. We needed to support them because they are really making us proud. Personally, before this report, I didn't know that we have an institution that is performing to this level. So this is really an eye-opener. It's a very important institution and it is doing well and it has been consistent. It's been consistent, whether it's about the accountability and about the core mission. So, well, we are proud of them. And as I said earlier, let's clean up this report, clear all the people so we can share the report that is properly done to Kasawa themselves for their own records. Thank you, Right Honorable, for the promise that Council will visit Kasawa. That will be a shot in the arm. It will encourage them to do more. And also to visit the other institutions so that even before the committees of the assembly go there, which is our business, we should do that. But also Council doesn't come to learn about these things by way of surprise. Some of the issues you can learn about them before, and we complement each other and resolve them in good time. So, honorable members, I thank you very much for the session today, and I adjourn the House until tomorrow at 9:30.